Kentville Fire Department going to present the awards tonight.
It's truly an honor to stand here before you today on behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association to present one of the most prestigious recognitions of our organization, the Lifetime Achievement Award. This year, we are proud to celebrate an exceptional individual whose dedication, service, and leadership have left an indelible mark on the volunteer fire service community. Please join me in congratulating the 2024 recipient, Reed Wynot of the Bridgewater Fire Department. Reed's career in the fire service is nothing short of extraordinary. With 50 years of service, his unwavering commitment to protecting his community and mentoring the next generation of firefighters embodies the very spirit of volunteerism. Reed has not only responded to countless emergencies, but has also been instrumental in shaping the culture of safety, camaraderie, and excellence within the Bridgewater Fire Department. Throughout his tenure, Reed has demonstrated a passion for sharing his knowledge and expertise. From training new recruits to enhancing operational protocols, he's ensured that the legacy of the Bridgewater Fire Department is one of resilience and readiness. His mentorship has inspired many to follow in his footsteps, fostering a stronger, more connected fire service community. Reed's contributions extend beyond his department. His leadership and advocacy for volunteer fire service have made a lasting impact on our collective mission to safeguard communities across Canada. He exemplifies what it means to serve selflessly, and his dedication reminds us all why we choose this path. We would like to express our sincere gratitude to Makita for their support of this award. As a valued partner, Makita's commitment to recognizing the outstanding contributions of individuals like Reed is a testament to their belief in the power of community and volunteerism. Their sponsorship ensures that we can continue to honor those who have given so much to protect and serve. All the tools on the table are a donation from Makita to the recipient's department. Reed, as you accept this Lifetime Achievement Award, know that your impact reaches far beyond the walls of your fire hall. Your leadership, dedication, and compassion have touched countless lives, and your legacy will inspire future generations of volunteer firefighters. This is the first year that we'll be giving a large coin for Reed to keep, and it's got his name engraved on it with the year, as well as now this is one of only 15 coins like this, a keeper coin or pocket coin that he can have as well. On behalf of the Canadian Volunteer Fire Services Association, the Bridgewater Fire Department, and the many communities you have served, thank you for extraordinary service. Congratulations, Reed, on this well-deserved recognition. Please join me in a round of applause as we celebrate the remarkable achievements of Reed Wynot.
welcome to our official stamp cancellation for the town of Bridgewater. And glad to see everybody's here.
I just like, well, first of all, thank you everyone for coming out to this on our birthday, 125 years. It's something quite special for the town. And I wanna thank the South Shore Stamp Club for this the stamp cancellation. Right, is that the pictorial stamp cancellation?
Yes.
I have in my pocket the last one that I keep in my office at Town Hall from 2017, where we had the one for Bijanuiska Park, which also has the nice stamp on it for the park. So I have a couple of these that are on display, so whenever I'm meeting with developers or business people interested in coming to our town to start a new business, this is one of the things they see. And so to mark our 125th birthday with another, I find these, obviously they're unique, but they're also very special. I think it's very fitting. So thank you all for putting this together and for being here today.
Anyways, thank you everybody for coming for our Bridgewater 125. And the Philatelic Society has asked us to produce a cancellation commemorating this event, so which we have done, and it's turned out with very positive reviews. And Canada Post is really pleased to be involved with supporting Philatelic Society and Bridgewater. So of course, it's just been a great time. So the cancel is officially released as of right now, and please take part in some of the festivities. We have coffee, tea, donuts, anything you folks like. So thank you very much.
Thanks for all your effort.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks. Yep, all right. Good evening, everyone. I'll call this regularly scheduled meeting of Bridgewater Town Council to order. And as always, Town of Bridgewater is located in Mi'kma'ki, the unceded and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And as always, it is our privilege to be here. The agenda has been circulated. Any additions or deletions to the agenda? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Announcements. I would just like to start by thanking the volunteers that made the parade possible. Like, what an exceptional parade and fireworks. Of course, we've got members of our Bridgewater Fire Department here today for another topic on the agenda, but what I heard, the feedback I heard was it was probably the best fireworks show that we've had, coupled with probably the best parade that we've ever had. And as someone who walked the parade and has walked in many of the parades, I've never heard so many children so loud screaming Merry Christmas. It was amazing. And I had a great time walking with the mayor of the municipality district of Lunenburg, so it was great. So I would like to thank our Bridgewater Events Committee. So we have our chair, Councillor Fragier, thank you. We had our parade marshals, Joanne and David Hadley. This is their 10th parade with us. Stuart Frank and his wife Janice Ramey. We have Councillor Braden Newell, of course, Kim Young, Angela Henhofer, and Charles Lay as volunteers. And then, of course, the Bridgewater Fire Department. And thank you to all the businesses who entered in floats and food bank donations and all the people who showed up for the parade and the fireworks. Other announcements from members of council. Councillor Newell?
All right. Yeah, I've got a couple of things here. So I want to send a huge thank you to the Downtown Bridgewater Business Committee for hosting a downtown Christmas countdown this past Saturday. That's amazing. As a friendly reminder to everyone in town, we've got free parking in town throughout the month of December. So encouraging everyone to get out, visit and shop local, and get their holiday shopping done. That's done in partnership with the Bridgewater Area Chamber of Commerce. And in partnership with the Bridgewater Area Chamber of Commerce, there's also free transit every weekend in December. So that's wonderful. The Heritage Advisory Committee is also seeking input on names for the park being construction on Winburn Avenue. So Councillor Wynot and I sit on that committee. So residents nearby should have received some letters, but otherwise folks can reach out and submit any suggestions they have for names for that park. And lastly, on December 15th at 4 p.m., the LCLC is hosting their ribbon cutting for the new EV fast chargers that have recently been installed with the event from 3 to 6. So I'm excited about that as well. Got lots of great stuff going on this month.
We're going to race to see who's the first car to plug in.
I think there's two, right? So you and I can.
There's two, yeah. Thank you. Councillor Fagier?
Yes, I'd like to inform the public that you can enter the Deck the Home contest presented by CKBW Country 100.7. Everybody is invited to enter their home for this holiday showcase. So with your home, could be deck or patio adorned in holiday lights. Residents of Bridgewater are invited to nominate themselves for Deck the Home contest. So step number 1, you snap a picture and the outdoor display, submit your photo through the radio station's website before December 15th. The listeners of the public will be invited to select their vote on their favorite, with the winners being announced on December 18th. And a big thank you goes out to our sponsors. For first place, the prize is a $500 gift certificate from Gauss Home Hardware and Furniture. Second place is $250 gift certificate from Sam's No Frills. And third place is $125 gift certificate for the South Shore Center. And just a reminder that you can take in some of the festives around the downtown, as we have everything from the beautiful 4-H community forest over on Brookside Cemetery. You can stroll through Riverside Park to see the Grinch and the light tree. We have decorative wreaths adorned on the lampposts, as well as the main tree at Pigeonooska Park, and take some photos. So there's lots going on in our downtown this festive season. Thank you.
Thank you. Other announcements from council? To our acting CIO, did you want to?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say thank you at this time of the year to all of the staff for all of the hard work that they've done in building these reports and bringing things forward to council over the last 12 months. This particular week has been a long week with lots of detail going into these reports, and especially for the support they've given me over the last 5 weeks. And I just want to say we have a lot of people getting recognition, and these folks toil away sometimes without much recognition in public. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of the town of Bridgewater to the staff of the town. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, and I will say on behalf of council as well, we appreciate all the hard work. This is our last council meeting for the year, but I know that the work doesn't stop for anyone, so thank you so much. There's a lot in our agenda to go through today, and so we'll get through this over the next few hours, but hours and hours and hours of time go into this, so thank you. It is very much appreciated. If there are no other announcements, we do have a delegation, and I think Josie is here, so we have Josie Rutterham, who is the CEO of South Shore Open Doors Association. requesting financial support for affordable housing purchase. So, Josie, welcome.
Hello.
All right, we'll turn it over to you.
Excellent. Thank you very much for having me remotely tonight. I do apologize. I had to go to Ontario for a family emergency, so I do really appreciate this accommodation. I'm going to go ahead and share my presentation on screen. Is that okay?
Yep, perfect, thank you. Just a reminder, you have 10 minutes as a delegation. That doesn't include any of the time for questions for our council. So.
Oh, great. Yes. Okay, are you able to see my presentation?
Yep.
Okay, awesome. All right, I will try to speak clearly. I cannot see you, so if you have any questions, please call out maybe. But at the end, of course, there will be time for questions. So I am here today to talk about the preservation of affordable housing in Bridgewater. My name is Josie Rutterham, and I am the CEO of the South Shore Open Doors Association. I want to start by briefly talking about what does the South Shore Open Doors Association do already in Bridgewater. So we offer housing support to over 200 individuals at a time in Lunenburg and Queens County. The goal of housing support is to help people acquire the skills they need to stay housed or to get them the skills they need to get housed. We also offer trustee services, so that's a voluntary service where folks are able to give up their paychecks directly to the provincial trustee, and then we redistribute that to make sure things like rent and telephones are paid first before giving them whatever money's left over. We offer loan referrals and assistance in applying for programs like income assistance or rent subsidies, and we provide diversion funding, which I'm going to talk about a little bit more in a minute. We also allow access to free internet and phones, short-term food insecurity support, and sport transportation. And many of you receive our monthly reporting about coordinated access that goes to community services and different levels of government in the community to help us track what is happening in the unhoused population. We're a member of the Integrated Youth Services Coalition, which we are very proud to be bringing enhanced youth services to the region. That's going to be at the Dawson Center in the next year. We manage the by name list for the region, so basically this is again another provincial program, so anyone looking to get housed or who is precariously housed, we would collect all of their information, like how many bedrooms they need, so they have pets, that kind of thing, and then we prioritize people based on need as housing becomes available to us. We manage the Route 25 overnight shelter in Bridgewater, and there we engage guests in a path to getting housed independently. We negotiate on behalf of residents with the Nova Scotia Power Low Income Advocate to make sure that people keep their electricity on, so whether that's helping them pay some arrears or helping them get set up with a payment plan. We just really want to make sure no one's losing housing because they can't pay for electricity. We have clients signed to get established in new housing, so we provide support through housing support, but we also provide practical things like furniture or bedding, or we coordinate with other services in town to get those items. And we may pay like first month's rent or a deposit to help people get established in new housing. So for example, this is our diversion funding that we've spent in this fiscal year. So since April 1st, the money supplied by the government for diversion funding has been mostly spent, about $61,000 on keeping people housed in Lunenburg and Queens. We've spent about $55,000 on helping them secure housing, so those are things I find like doing a deposit. And then we have the miscellaneous costs that go towards like short-term rental costs if we can't do anything else, and we can put someone up in a hotel for the night kind of thing, or to get new IDs if they've lost them to make sure they can access all the services. So SODA has been in the housing support game for about 4 years now, and it has been obvious to us since the first year that what we really need is our own housing to enable as many people as possible to get housed in affordable housing and to secure that housing and preserve it for the long term. And we have been offered a very exciting opportunity by a local landlord to acquire 82 units of housing at once to establish our housing provider program. So those units are divided between 2 different sites in downtown Bridgewater. The green ones there compose 50 units, and they're on King Street and bordered by Maple. And then there are 32 units on Dufferin Street, and those are bordered by St. Andrew Street and Alexandra Avenue. Housing in Bridgewater, there is need. So Bridgewater has a needs assessment conducted by the town reported that at least 9% of renting couples, 40% of renting lone parents, and 73% of renting single persons, which would include seniors, earned well below the estimated income required to afford 2021 average local rents. And we know that income has not gone up much, but rent has gone up significantly since 2021. We're seeing across the region a rising senior population, meaning more residents on fixed incomes and downsizing, which is good if you're looking for a large house, but it's really putting increased pressure on the rental market. And we have raising wait times for Nova Scotia Housing Authority. So if you are looking to get into community housing through Nova Scotia Housing Authority, the wait list is almost 1,800 people as of the spring of 2025. Just our own numbers are also telling us the same thing. So this point in time count was from a couple months ago, but at the time, 182 individuals and 63 children were experiencing homelessness or very insecure housing, like living in a car or couch surfing. There was 173 homes living with a pending eviction notice, and the top 3 reasons people were getting evicted, and these remain pretty consistent, is relationship breakdown, domestic abuse, and the building they were living in being sold. So that is what we would very much like to avoid in this case. SODA is ready to take on this project. We are very lucky to be partnering with Craig Schrader, who has agreed to stay on and mentor us. He is the current owner of the property and he's the current property manager. So he'll be working closely with us to provide continuity for our tenants. And another way we're doing that is there's currently 1 employee of these units, and we're going to extend their contract, keep them on as the building supervisor. They do a fantastic job. The units are in great shape, and so we want to make sure that we're leaning on that experience. I myself have quite a lot of experience in housing, even though SODA itself has not yet. So I have over 16 years experience as a landlord. I have over 15 years experience as an entrepreneur in social enterprises with budgets exceeding $2 million. And my first career was actually in mortgages. So I have over 10 years experience on the financial side of housing, which really helps me understand the commercial financing and residential tenancy goals. SODA has also worked hard over the last couple months to get connected to as many experienced housing providers and developers as possible locally. And we were already members of multiple networks and associations, but we've deepened those contacts to make sure that we have access to any resources that we might need as we grow and realize where our capacity might have gaps. The timeline that we're looking at is we currently have an offer of purchase and sale in place. That is conditional on appraisals, financing, inspections, and environmental assessments. And we have until the end of January to fulfill those conditions. So that's what we're going to be working on through the next couple months. And our financing is going to be provided by the Community Housing Acquisition Program, which is a provincial program through the Department of Growth and Development. In February, we're going to complete the transfer of ownership. That's a typo. It should be for all units. So all 82 units are being transferred in February. And SODA, at that time, will hire a property manager to be mentored directly by Craig. And we also expect to add 16 new full-time positions. That's our current draft budget that we have with the Department of Opportunities and Social Development to make sure that these units are supported if anyone living them requires support. And also these full-time positions will expand our capacity region-wide to deliver programming. From January to December, the vendor is going to mentor SODA and transfer management of everything that is currently happening, so making sure that any contracts or processes that have been going on are either being repeated or improved. The province is providing the bulk of the funding for this project, and so of course they're doing their due diligence. So I wanted to highlight some of the things that are required by them in order for us to move forward on this project, and we have already met with them and assessed that we meet all these criteria. So the buildings we're purchasing have to be multi-unit residential properties. We have at least 30% of the units with rents below market average rent. Right now, 59% of these units actually have rents below market average rent, and we have no desire to change that. We need to have less than 30% commercial square footage. None of this is commercial. They're going to make sure it's a financially viable project, that we have to be a nonprofit society or one of these other things listed, and we actually are in the middle of becoming a charity as well. and that we have property management experience that's appropriate to the project, or engage a professional. So they were both happy with our, like our board and my experience, but we've also engaged a third-party property manager to help us out. We are here today to ask for council's help. We are deeply grateful for the town of Bridgewater for contributing the initial funding for SODA. So SODA would not exist without the initial funding provided through the town and through Energize Bridgewater. And the consistent funding, which has allowed us to grow our capacity over the last 4 years. So we were supposed to have 2 employees initially, we now have 22. The town originally asked us to complete 350 local intakes, that's coordinated access, and we've already completed over 832. And our contract with the town is ending in April 2026. So I think we're really proud of what we've already been able to accomplish in Bridgewater, and we're very grateful for the help in getting there. Today, we're asking council to consider providing a contribution to the down payment and closing costs for the purchase. The financing is 95%, and so therefore there's other funds that we have to fill that in. And perhaps that would be conditional on the same rules as the mortgage. We're asking council specifically, it's a $14.6 million purchase, and we are seeking up to $300,000 towards the down payment. We're also asking that council consider keeping property taxes at their current rates, which are low for the properties, or consider a tax exemption based on our nonprofit status. And finally, we ask that you consider granting back the deed transfer tax, which is also a significant cost, back to SODA if council agrees to that. So I want to say thank you for the support we've received in the past. We couldn't be here without you, and we definitely are very grateful for that. And we're really excited about where this puts the town. It means hopefully, we know we're losing affordable housing. And so yes, this doesn't add units today, but it means a guaranteed preservation of these units. Because they will be managed by an organization that is our purpose, that is our whole mission as an organization. Thank you very much, and I'm going to exit this screen in case you have any questions.
Great, thank you, Josie. Questions from council? I know you've talked to us before on this topic. Councillor Frazier.
Just for clarity purpose, Josie, you had mentioned that there will be 16 new hires planned in the new year. Is that as a direct, is that directly affected by this purchase, or is it the 16?
Yeah.
Okay, it is. All right.
Yeah, so these new roles are to meet the needs of the housing project and to expand our capacity. So at the leadership level, we're looking at adding a finance director, a housing support program manager, and a property manager. So those are the leadership positions, and then there will be about 5 intensive case managers, which also act as housing support, and we will have 24/7 resident support workers. So basically, if people have issues as tenants, they can call someone 24/7 and have that support available. And most of those are funded through the Department of Opportunities and Social Development. But some will be funded, I hope, through AHAM, but it does look like we're on track for that.
Okay. And do you have the space to accommodate your new staff?
We are working on that right now. So we do have some space in our existing offices.
Okay.
And some of those staff would also work out of the shelter. So I am still looking for like 5 or 6 more offices in town.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Caldwell.
Have you asked other municipal governments for support, and if so, what's the result of that request?
We have. I'm fairly sure I can share publicly that we asked the municipality of the District of Lunenburg to contribute. We did ask them for $100,000, and they have, we have like I don't know what it's called, a draft commitment. They're busy putting together the contribution agreement. And that is conditional, or their provision was that we had to follow the rules of the financing, and we can't sell the building before the mortgage is done, or we would have to return those funds.
Deputy Mayor?
On the stability, you said that CHAP, I'm sorry, I can't remember what the acronym stands for, they're happy with your knowledge and you shared how the project relies fairly heavily on your personal experience and knowledge. And I'm sure you're going to be around for a long time, but I think you may be number 3 in 4 or 5 years. So just, will the new positions reduce some of that reliance on your skills and experiences?
Yes,
Well, can spread that
absolutely.
out?
The finance director specifically, yes, that's a role that we thought needed to be added to spread that load a little bit through the organization. I'm sorry, Jennifer, I'm not sure I heard your whole question because it was a little garbled, but I think you were just highlighting that you're kind of relying on my personal experience and how are we building capacity as an organization. So we were already also members of several provincial organizations and associations, but more staff are getting involved with those associations and doing the trainings and participating in the resources that come along with those. So for example, the Nova Scotia Nonprofit Housing Association will be spending, more staff will be spending more time to develop skill sets.
Great, thank you.
Councillor Conklin? Hi, Josie. What again are the mortgage terms with the province?
It's 5% for 30 years, and we have to maintain 30% of the units as affordable housing. We cannot exceed 30% of the square footage in commercial. Like if we converted some of the units on Dufferin to commercial, for example, that would be okay as long as it didn't exceed 30% of the building. Sorry, I don't know what.
Okay, no, that's good. Thanks. Yep. Another question. You referenced the property tax rate and how you would like for council to maintain the property tax. Are we talking like the gross amount of property tax being paid, or keeping the tax rate for those buildings at $1.85?
The request was the gross amount. I'm sorry, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I think together it's about $90,000 a year for all of those properties. Please don't quote me on that number, but I think it's about that. And so we were hoping for budgeting reasons to keep it consistent. And I know there was some discussion about non-profit exemptions, so I'm leaving that up to council to decide what direction you guys want to take on that.
Okay, thank you. Deputy Mayor.
So we've seen this a couple of times. I just wanted to make sure that nothing has changed. There's still anticipated, I know you don't have your numbers in front of you. Can you give us an idea of what the annual profits will be after your expenses? There's still expected to be profits?
Yeah, so it wouldn't be profits, it would be surpluses that would be carried forward. And they're about 100 together, the unit, all of the units, it's about $210,000 a year that we hope to have in surplus based on the budget that we built.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions around the table? Councillor Caldwell?
Just to clarify, that surplus is with what amount of tax from the town of Bridgewater?
I don't have the specific number in front of me, I'm sorry. I did base it on the current rate, so what the landlord is paying today.
Yeah, the current rate then.
Yeah,
Okay,
so that would mean that when the purchase price happens and the cap is removed.
The landlord, the current landlord is texting me. He says it's $150,000, so he has better numbers than I do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, Councillor Conklin? Okay, so all of these units are currently occupied, and you don't foresee any turnover with the transition. So I guess one question would be, why is SOTA so interested in this project? Like, how will this I guess, assist the 182 families who are experiencing homelessness in the area now?
Yeah, so twofold. I mean, first, it builds our capacity to be housing providers, and if we really have the surplus that we're looking at, and it goes along with the experience we're building, we are looking to build in the region as well. So this is just like a launching pad of our housing provider services. We would like to build new units. We would like to purchase more units. So it puts SOTA in a different position to be able to provide housing. It also means that we can highly support people being put into housing. So Before, we had to rely on the generosity of landlords to a large extent, and if it wasn't going well, or if there was some sort of minor issue, a landlord might not want to continue with that tenant. So we are able to come in and provide housing support services, trustee services, 24-hour support services, make sure that they are set up with an income source. And as new people move into the unit, we will do if they're employed, we're going to do a rent geared to income, so that'll be 30%, up to 30% of market rent. Or if they are on income assistance, they'd be looking at the income assistance rates, which are about $200 to $300 a month for apartments. So it makes the housing that exists more accessible to people, but it also ensures that we do not lose the affordable units. And so the landlord, the current vendor is going to sell these units, whether he sells them to us or he sells them to somebody else, they are going to be sold. And what we see repeatedly in communities over and over again is when units like this are sold, usually there is an amount of rent eviction that happens, so people are moved out of units, so those units can be upgraded or slightly upgraded and then sold again. And there isn't a lot of there's not a lot of for-profit reasons to have affordable housing. And so it is very rare to have a landlord who would want to continue this model, whereas we are going to be mandated to continue this model.
Okay, thanks. Just another piece. So with the surplus, you're hoping to use it for future investment, for additional housing. And you mentioned in the region. What region are we talking about? Like in the town of Bridgewater, or?
If we can build in the town of Bridgewater, we would love to do that. We will be looking at, we operate in Lunenburg and Queens. So the places that make the most sense to build housing are definitely the District of Lunenburg, Bridgewater, and Whitlow Pool. We're going to get through this project first before we decide on the next big project, but any of those regions could be possible for development for us.
Okay, thanks. And sorry, just to kind of piggyback on Councillor Caldwell's question about other municipalities that you might have approached. What about Region of Queens? Have you folks talked to them?
We are not, no, we won't be asking them for funds for this project. We will be doing a project in Queens in the next 3 years, and we hope to work with them on that. We've had initial discussions about land use and what they want to see in the region and what kind of relationship we can develop with them, but we did not ask for funds for this project. We just asked Modal.
Okay, thanks.
Other questions from council? No? Okay, this is coming back later on in our agenda tonight. So if there's no other questions from council, thank you, Josie, for your presentation and answering questions. Like I said, this will be something we get to, I don't know, after we get through a few other things first.
Put time on it.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
We will now move to the public hearing portion of the evening. So just as a reminder, this is like a meeting within a meeting, so I will recess the regular council meeting, and I will now call the public hearing open, and note that all statutory requirements have been met, and that council's decision is covered by the municipal planning strategy, and I will turn it over to the planner.
Thank you. Good evening, Council, Mayor.
Do you want to just pull that microphone down just to, there you go, thanks.
Is that okay?
Yeah, thanks, Anna.
Thank you.
Oh, sorry.
If I could declare
Yeah.
conflict of interest.
Oh, yes, thank you,
you.
Councilor Fisher.
Yeah. So this is a public hearing, a second reading presentation for the proposed amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to the MPS and LUB for the 1233 King Street application. So the applicant is proposing a change in land use from low-density residential to medium-density residential, and rezoning from single-unit residential to R1 to medium-density residential R5. So the property is currently, no. I don't know why it's not showing. Okay. The property is currently designated as low-density residential on the future land use map, as you can see here, and that designation supports R1 and R2 zones. The proposal would allow a rezoning from R1 to R2 to R5, which would enable the applicant to build a multi-unit residential building on the site. In terms of context, to the west, the property is next to other R1 zoned properties, and to the south, it borders an industrial land use. To the north, it's adjacent to a park zone along the LaHave River, and on the east side, across Logan Road, there are more R1 zoned properties. When we zoom out a bit, we can see that the property is mostly surrounded by single unit residential properties, and the area is made up of mainly the low density land uses. Okay. Under the R5 zone, up to 4 units are permitted as of right, and up to 5 units are permitted under special conditions. Based on the lot size, up to 15 units, including affordable units, could be permitted through a development agreement application. Other uses, such as offices, are permitted through a DA. Okay, the proposed amendment gets a strong support from the municipal policies and is compatible with the overall objectives of the land use bylaw, municipal planning strategy in terms of, for instance, minimizing the land use conflicts, which is addressed through the vegetative buffer and setbacks requirements, and also promoting mixed and compatible land uses. In terms of the engineering consideration, the downstream wastewater capacity assessment indicates that the existing pipe in sewer shed 7 becomes over capacity with the additional flow from the proposal, and so engineering staff conducted smoke testing, and the result from the smoke testing effectively limit development to 5 units, 4 units as of right, plus 1 unit's residential conversion within the proposed R5 zone. To go over the process for this application, we started by presenting the initiation report to council at June 9 meeting, and based on council direction, we scheduled a public participation meeting for July 2nd, and the first reading report was brought to council I think August 11, and at that meeting, council approved the first reading and set the public hearing date for September 8. At applicant's request, the September 8 public hearing was deferred, and for today's, which is the rescheduled public hearing, we published 3 notices, one on the town's website, the other on the town's social media on November 24th, and one in the newspaper on December 3rd. So, as a conclusion, the property at 1233 King Street can support a 5-unit development, 4 units as of right, and plus 1 unit with the condition of using the existing structure, and under the proposed R5 zone. So. It cannot accommodate any more units beyond that, whether through site plan approval or development agreement application. While acknowledging the limit to 5 units, staff recognize that rezoning to R5 would keep future development opportunities open when the additional sewer capacities becomes available. So staff have identified these recommended options for town council to consider, give second and final reading to the proposed amendments to the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw, including redesignated to medium density residential and rezoning to medium density residential R5 zone. for in the form of map amendments at 1233 King Street. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions for Santa? Any questions? This is second reading, so we've kind of had questions before. I don't think the applicant is here to make a presentation. No. I don't know if there's any comments from members of the public. No? Okay. Well, then I will close the public hearing and reconvene a regular council meeting and be asking council what its wish is. Councilor Caldwell.
Would you like a motion?
Yes, please.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater hereby conduct second and final reading of Chapter 232, a bylaw to amend the municipal planning strategy and land use bylaw to concurrently redesignate the property at 1233 King Street, PID 600200948, from low-density residential designation to medium-density residential designation, and to rezone from the single-unit residential zone to medium-density residential zone on the future land use map and zoning map, respectively, as shown in appendices B and C of document 25-092D.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Wynot. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, Councilor Fashir. If council will indulge me, I do know that tonight is a regular meeting of our Bridgewater Fire Department, and so we have a number of them here tonight who probably would rather be at their other meeting. So if council's okay, do you mind if we move up 11.3 so that we can talk to them about the pumper truck now?
Yep.
Does that work for you? I mean, you guys can stay for a couple more hours if you want, but if you want to come up, chief and deputies. So we'll just go down to 11.3. So this is tender 25-07 BFD custody
Good evening,
firefighter.
Mr. Mayor and Council. I'm going to introduce you to our Deputy Chief, Dave Harmers. He's going to present the stuff to you. I'm here as moral support for him. As well, I do have another member in the audience. If some questions come up over insurance underwriters review and stuff, we'll be able to answer those questions as well, so he can then comment on it. So I will give the table to David here.
Right. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you. Good evening, Council. I'm here to provide a brief summary of the tender process for replacing our 2005 pumper truck. This replacement has been part of the long-range capital plan for many years, and Council pre-approved it in June of 2023. Industry standards for NFPA ULC and the Fire Underwriters Survey all indicate the truck should have been replaced by the end of 2025. Supply chains delays now mean new apparatus required 2 to 5 years of delivery, which is why we began this process early. Tender 25-07 was issued in August 2025 and extended closing to October. We received 5 submissions ranging from 1.86 million to 2.04 million net HST against a budget of 1.3 million. The truck committee spent over 100 hours reviewing the proposal. 2 were removed immediately due to major safety and compliance issues. And then after follow-up questions, 2 more were eliminated. The recommended submission is the second lowest priced, but is clearly the best fit for our department and safety needs. Financially, the recommended option is $581,360 over budget, which would require additional debt financing. At the time, the vendor could not meet the tender 60-day price fidelity or payment on delivery terms due to market volatility. Delivery is expected around mid-2028, and tariff-related price adjustments may occur. Because the current 2005 truck must remain in service until a replacement arrives, We may need additional inspections and modifications to keep it compliant. We will report back on this once we investigate this more. Currently, we've recommended 3 options for council. Award the tender to Rocky Mountain Phoenix for approximately 1.88 million net HST. Second one is to direct us to adjust the project budget and bring it forward in a future cycle, understanding that this will cause delays and likely higher cost. And lastly, number 3 is to direct us to reconfigure the truck specifications to seek a lower cost, also with significant delays and no guarantee of savings. The department at this time is recommending option 1, awarding the tender based on the full review and the long-term needs of the community. Thank you, and will take any questions you have.
Any questions? Oh, it's a bold statement. Councillor, why not?
Just looking for clarity, because I think I missed what you had said. So a delivery could be expected by mid-2028?
Yes.
But tariffs, like, that price could fluctuate?
Yes.
Between now and then?
So actually, all 5 tenders that came in all had the same clause in there.
Okay.
So they will do a price adjustment if tariffs increase before the delivery of the truck. We did approach that, and unfortunately, that's like I said, all 5 of them have that same clause in there.
Okay. Just a follow-up question to that. That 1.88 million. Is there a buffer built into that at all, or is that if that truck were to roll out today, that's what the check's being written for?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So so we've designed the truck. They came back. We will have a pre-build meeting with the manufacturer.
Okay.
That will go over some points that we may not have seen, but this is what we asked for. So there could be some slight adjustments in it, and they could probably come back and make some, you know what, if you change this a little bit, it could reduce the price.
Okay.
1.88 is what we've asked for. It should not go over that, except for in the case of tariffs, right?
Okay. Thank you.
If we could save money, we will save money.
We appreciate that.
Councillor Caldwell.
One of the options presented was to reconfigure the apparatus specifications to reduce costs.
Yes.
So, I guess in layman's terms, if you were to do that, what could be adjusted? First of all, I appreciate all the work the committee put into this. Like, that's a lot of time. But so if you were to make some changes, what might you change? How might that impact community safety, and what might it mean for costs?
So, to be honest, there isn't going to be a whole lot of options that we can cut out of this. We based it off of our current Engine 3, which is now 5 years old. And when we ordered that one, it's our primary attack truck. And it also has other features on it that, the nice to haves. When we spec'd this truck, we designed it around that current truck and took all those nice to haves out of it. We sat down afterwards when we were going over this, was like, what could we have cut out of here? And there really wasn't much that we can cut out that will still meet the needs to provide the fire protection for the town. So we say that, it's gonna be small stuff, right? Like, we can change a seat design, but down the road, we're gonna have to buy those new seats because that's just one of our requirements, right? So it's not gonna change the price at all, pretty much at all.
Deputy Mayor.
I remember the good old days when you could get a fire truck for $1 million. But, so this truck is what we require to maintain our rating.
It is.
The service couldn't operate with something lesser, smaller.
It is. So the truck is based off of NFPA standards, which is industry standards. And although we're not obliged to follow them, it is an industry standard, and we try to follow them as close as possible. And in that, it states that this size of this location needs this type of fire service, or to meet the fire requirements. It needs this many trucks, this size of pumpers, this much water. and this many firefighters, and we followed that as close as we can. So we can't look at a truck that's half the size, a mini pumper, for instance, and expect to be able to put out a 4-story apartment building fire, right? So the answer to your question is yes, that's the truck that we need to maintain the fire service that Town of Bridgewater requires.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Newell.
It was due to be replaced by the end of this year.
It
Obviously,
was.
looks like we're looking at 2028. So how long feasibly can the existing truck, I guess, remain in service for? What are the implications of that? And then what happens to this truck once the new one comes?
So the truck, we feel that the truck will definitely be able to get another 2 years out of it. The ULC, the underwriter survey, requires us to have inspections done onto it to make sure that it meets the current standards and the performance of it, which we are investigating on how we go about that and how much it's going to cost us to extend the life of that for the 2 years, which affects our scoring of the underwriter survey. We honestly have no idea how much it's going to cost. The truck has been really good to us since 2005. Maintenance is starting to increase. We're talking about a 20-year-old vehicle. Not too many of us drive a 20-year-old vehicle anymore, right? We just had its annual servicing for the pump testing, and that went all right. We had a major replacement on the pump, and we don't know if something like that could happen tomorrow, right? But that's a risk that we have to take. So the 2 years is feasible, although in 2 years' time, the depreciation value is obviously going to decrease, and that's how it's going to affect us, the town council, is the depreciation on it. So when we do turn around and sell it, once the new pumper has arrived, it's going to be a little bit less than what it's worth today.
So, I assume, who buys a 20-year-old truck? If we're removing it from service, I assume another municipality isn't buying it, right?
You're absolutely right. You know as well as I do, there is some very small towns, communities, all across North America, and when a truck goes for sale, it's put up for tender, which is open to pretty much anywhere. And these small towns, well, probably not small towns, but small communities that cannot afford a new truck, and they just do not have $1 million in their pockets, will buy a $100,000 truck, right? And they will take care of it as best as they can. They will pay the maintenance on it, but it's still cheaper than that $1 million truck.
It's a different level of service than we would require, which goes back to our underwriters, right?
Yeah.
So, this question was almost asked maybe. So if we don't have this truck, we're very proud of our rating that we get.
It's good.
Right? So if we don't get this truck, there is an impact to that rating, I'm assuming?
Yes, it will. So it has to be replaced in 5 years, or it will affect the underrating score. But over the next 5 years, each year we have to apply to keep that truck in service and pay that annual fee for the inspection and the annual fee for the serviceability fee or inspection on it. We don't know, because we've never done it before, so we don't know what's completely involved in the serviceability inspection and how much it costs, right? And it could also, I'm a little bit familiar with aerial devices because of the cost of, they were a $2 million truck a couple years ago, and some places would look at extending the life by that 5 years. And that meant like a pretty significant refit of the truck, right? And this could be we could say today that we're going to keep it for 5 years, and it could cost us $100,000 a year to keep it in service, right? We don't have that figure right now.
Okay.
But 5 years is that mark where it's going to affect that underwriter survey score.
Okay. Councilor Wynack.
Are you aware of any other trucks in your fleet that would be coming up for a replacement within the next 5 years, 10 years, like?
Yes.
Yeah? Are there a few coming up?
Yes.
Okay.
The next truck is the ladder truck. Is the ladder
Oh.
truck.
That's a big one, I think.
It will cost more than this.
Yeah.
And that's in 5 years? No, 3 years. 7 years.
7 years from now,
Yes.
we'll be doing this
Yes.
all over again.
But it needs to be in service in 7 years, right? So in 5
So 5
in
years.
5 years, we're going to be having this conversation.
Yes.
Right. Okay. And that's the next one.
Somebody will be.
Somebody will be.
Like, I know the cost is it's significant, but just to put that in perspective of why a fire truck is costing $1.8 million. Like I said, we compared this to our 2015, which is our last pumper truck, and that one cost just over $800,000. So, or sorry, 2000. So 2020. So in 5 years, that same truck has increased from $800,000 to $1.8 million, right? And all the prices were relatively close from 5 different companies, right? So it's not just one vendor that is overcharging or not. It's the industry.
So I have 2 questions. One is in terms of tariffs.
Yes.
Are there tariffs being applied to this now, or is it no tariffs now, but because the president is all over the map, there might be tomorrow and then taken off? Or, so they're not necessarily applied.
So,
be careful what I
so
say.
To my knowledge, there is no tariffs on fire-specific stuff coming out of the States.
Okay.
What the tariffs does cover, though, is the metal that is coming from another country into the United States to build the fire truck, or the electronics that are being brought into the United States to build the fire truck, right? So we don't pay tariffs directly, but it affects the price of the vehicle being built over the next 2 years.
So understanding that, if by some miracle we will be able to negotiate back to where we're, so I know
Yes.
that they said if tariffs go up, the price will go up, but if tariffs go down,
Yes.
okay. My worry is we get halfway through the build of this, we've fully committed, and now there's another 25% increase on this, but, I mean, you gotta go at some point. My last question is, there's no European manufacturer that can supply a vehicle and avoid
Tariffs?
some of the tariffs, or be competitive, or perhaps not reward the bad behavior of the neighbor to the south?
Well, we certainly have not explored that, and to be honest, I have not heard of a European, well, Rosenbauer is a European company.
But they're made in the States,
but-
though, aren't they?
Yes,
Yeah.
but they have North American manufacturers, right? That one is beyond me, sir.
Okay, no, that's
Yeah.
fair, thank you.
If I may, this was an open tender process, right? And you had 5 bidders on it?
We had 5 bidders,
Yeah.
yes, we
So
did.
there was opportunity, I guess, for other people to bid on it?
Yeah, it was on it was posted on both the provincial site and the town site.
Yeah, no, that's. Any other questions? Councilor Wyman?
I was just going to make
Sure, yeah.
make a motion, and before I start, I'd just like to thank the fire department for all their work. We are very proud of our department, so with that said, I move that the town council for the town of Bridgewater award tender 25-07 BFD custom firefighting pumper to Rocky Mountain Phoenix for the total sum of $1,881,360.08 net HST, which equates to $2,065,099.74 full HST.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Newell. Further discussion, Deputy Mayor?
Just wanted to make sure we would have to borrow the additional money for this. It would be another, okay.
Yeah.
Just wanted to make sure I knew where the money was coming from.
from the lady over there.
Finance worried about that.
Yeah. Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
All right. Down to 10.1, Housing Accelerator Fund, making town-owned lands available for housing.
Again, as Sarah comes up, this is a culmination of a body of work that has been going on for the last few months, and great glossy presentation in one of the presentations coming up here.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
All right. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I'm here to present on the strategy for making town-owned land available for housing. As briefly mentioned, this is one of the 5 Housing Accelerator Fund initiatives identified in the town's Housing Action Plan and is tied to our HAF funding. For this initiative, we were tasked with making a strategy for how we might make town-owned land available for housing, and then following this to release an expression of interest, or EOI, to solicit interested parties who may want to develop a parcel of town-owned land for housing. So the recommendation before Council this evening is that Council for the Town of Bridgewater approve the strategy for making town-owned land available for housing as presented, and that Council for the Town of Bridgewater initially make available PID number 600446666 and PID 603-90432 available through an EOI process to be initiated in January of 2026. Here is a map of town-owned land that is currently identified as vacant. There are several parcels throughout town with varying suitability for housing development. Our largest parcels are the lands at Exit 12A, which have been identified for commercial development, and then the Glen Allen lands. There are several smaller parcels, including the York Street property, which is currently under an MOU, and parcels on LaHave and Naphthal, which are being recommended for an initial EOI process. So key components of the strategy, there are standard elements included, including a vision and guiding principles. We've also identified a land assessment process, what an expression of interest process and evaluation criteria would be, any legal mechanisms and affordability protections that may be applied, and varying pricing approaches that Council may consider through the EOI process. Included in the evaluation criteria are the items listed for you here. Through work in discussion sessions with Council, it was identified that housing impact would be a priority. So the number of units proposed, the density, diversity of housing types, unit sizes and bedroom counts, affordability levels for both rental and ownership, accessibility features, universal design, and timelines for delivering housing would all be prioritized. You can then kind of see in weighted order there relatively how expressions of interest and interested parties would be evaluated. So protections that Council may consider when entering into an agreement with an interested or identified party through the EOI process. They could consider including the number of affordable units that would be required to be provided, affordability levels that must be maintained, and the duration of that affordability. They could require annual reporting and performance measures be put in place, and any remedies for non-compliance to those requirements could also be identified. As mentioned, there are various approaches that could be applied to the pricing of any land that is made available. Council could consider selling at full market value where there's primary market housing being proposed, or reducing price of sale tied to affordability commitments. Council is also able through the MGA to make land available for a nominal price or $1 where affordable housing is primarily being provided. Each of these decisions would come to Council at the time of an EOI being awarded, and that decision could be made at that time. So finally, just to revisit the recommendations for this evening, staff recommend that council for the town of Bridgewater approve the strategy for making town-owned land available for housing as presented, and that council for the town of Bridgewater initially make available PID 600446666 and PID 603-90432 through an EOI process to be initiated in January of 2026.
Thank you. Questions from council? I didn't have a question about this, but can you go back to the slide that says the town may implement housing or buyback agreement, that one? So this has nothing to do with this presentation, but I was just thinking about the presentation and the request from SODA, and in terms of any requests we get in the future about this isn't town-owned land in that example, but it's town money being used for affordable housing. Some of this that's on the screen is, I think, what council would be looking for when we enter into an agreement with not-for-profit or an organization that's looking for taxpayer funding for affordable housing, right? Number of units, affordability. It kind of struck me that this is what we were, when we discussed with Josie the last time or the time before that she came, we were asking for reporting and how do we deal with non-compliance. Anyway, again, I know it has something to do with this presentation, but if it's important for when we're dealing with town-owned land in a sale, then I think it would be equally important when it's dealing with town money for any kind of affordable housing agreement. So I just wanted to kind of flag that. So, anyway, back on topic. Any questions on this? We've gone through this a few times with Councilor Newell.
Yeah. The first thing, and just because it really bothers me, page 4 of the strategy for making town land available for housing, the green document, that's not an image of Bridgewater. Are we going to replace that with an image? I assume it's just a stock image.
Yeah, and we have used stock images in the past for our action plan and things like that, but if you would prefer we track something down.
It's not a direction of council, it bothers me otherwise. So.
Noted.
I just have opinions. This is the second time I've commented on an image on a report. So, do we have to, will we be motioning every time we want to put another PID up for this strategy?
Yes.
And then how, do we have an initial estimation or like floor goal, what like the minimum we hope or expect to build from the release of, I guess, town-owned land?
That will be a process that we'll have to work through with the interested proponent that we choose to proceed with. Part of our challenge is some of the viability of the land, so we still need to assess, how much of each parcel would be developable. They are currently zoned R1 and R2, so we would also need to look at some potential zoning changes. And of course, this all would tie back to our wastewater capacity as well. So we're looking for a proponent to work through that process with and come to an agreed upon, what can be supported through policy as well as what would be a feasible development project for them. Yes.
Councilor Caldwell.
The initial lands that we would put up, so they back onto the trail, correct?
There is one property that's on Naphthol, so that's kind of like behind the hospital and across.
Yeah, right.
And then the LaHave property does not actually meet the trail itself.
Okay.
Yeah, the trail's a little bit further
up.
closer
Okay.
to the bridge than that property is located.
Okay.
Yeah.
Other questions? None. Councilor Newell? Yep.
Motion.
Yes, please.
I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater approve the strategy for making town-owned land available for housing as presented in document 23-110K1.
Yep. And we'll do them as two
that's what I
separate
thought.
motions, I think. Yep.
Yep.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Frazier. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Would you like to do the second motion, Councilor Newell?
I would love to, thank you. And that town council for the town of Bridgewater make available PID number 600446666 and PID number 603-90432 through an expression of interest process to be initiated in January 2026.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Frazier again. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Sarah. Down to, we're down to phased approach for removal of R1 zoning and priority areas. Welcome, Evan.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Good evening. I'm here to discuss the prepared strategy for the phased removal of R1 or single unit residential zoning in priority areas. Our staff recommendation will be to approve the strategy presented to you here tonight. As a condition of the town's agreement with the CMHC through the Housing Accelerator Fund, staff have reviewed the current single unit dwelling zone and crafted a strategy for its phased replacement. Phase 1 will include the transition from R1 to R2 zoning for 283 properties. These properties are located within 2 strategic areas, which I will outline with a map shortly. This change will enable gradual increases in the density while respecting the infrastructure capacity restraints that the town is currently facing. As you well know, wastewater capacity is a significant concern when it comes to new development. This phased approach will align Bridgewater's Housing Accelerator Fund initiative with the 10-year capital plan to allow minor increases in density as the town improves these capacity constraints. This initiative represents an important step in the town's fulfillment of the agreement, which unlocks $3.3 million in federal funding. It also represents one of the town's key priorities identified in our Housing Action Plan, which directs staff to review and propose alternatives to the R1 zone. So here is the current zoning map from the town's land use bylaw. Shown in, here's the current R1 zone at present. You can see on this map there are currently 1,886 properties zoned as R1 across town. Owing to the pre-1975 conversion allowance in our land use bylaw, only properties with structures built before 1975 are allowed to add a second unit. This map here shows the distribution of properties containing pre- and post-1975 structures. While the properties in yellow are restricted to a single unit, the properties highlighted in blue have historically been allowed to add a second unit since the institution of the town's first land use bylaw. Of the 1,886 properties currently in the R1 zone, 1,005 are currently able to add a second unit. The proposed alternative to the R1 zone, the R2 zone, permits 2 dwelling units as of right for all properties and 3 units for properties to which the conversion allowance applies. Transitioning from R1 to R2 will not require a change to the municipal planning strategy, as both fall under the low density designation as highlighted on the following slide. All areas currently identified in the future land use map here as low density will be maintained as such. As the designation includes R1 and R2 zoning, this phase will consist only, therefore, of a map amendment to the land use bylaw. Alignment with wastewater capacity upgrades is crucial. Wastewater service capacity currently constitutes a major concern with regard to new development. This requires a strategic approach to the transition, allowing capital projects to improve our capacity in advance of accelerating development in many areas of town. Phase 1 will therefore target areas where offsetting efforts have produced opportunities for potential development and where access to amenities dictates the greatest suitability for gentle densification. Phases 2 and 3 will occur in alignment with planned infrastructure upgrades, including upgrades to the wastewater treatment plant that are required for future development. Outlined in red on this map are the areas selected for Phase 1 of the transition. The 2 areas encompass 283 properties, or roughly 15% of current R1 properties, selected collaboratively between the engineering and community development departments. Sewer sheds 4 and 6 are areas with the most adequate wastewater capacity and where new residential density would be most in line with the town's planning and strategic priorities. Area 1, bounded by Empire, Dufferin, High, and York Streets, is part of Bridgewater's central residential neighborhood, ideal for gentle density. It features excellent walkability to services, transit, schools, and commercial hubs while situated within adequate existing infrastructure capacity for small-scale development. Area 2, bounded by Star Street, King Street, and the Centennials Trail, is similarly located within close proximity to key amenities like the LCLC and commercial hubs. This area has seen recent improvements in wastewater capacity due to offsetting measures. Phase 2 will include significantly more properties currently zoned R1, comprising the areas highlighted in blue on this map here. Delaying the transition to R2 for these areas provides necessary time for the town to make progress on its 10-year capital plan upgrades. Areas not selected for Phase 2 are those which face the most challenging wastewater conditions, or no near-term residential growth is advisable. Phase 3 then will include all remaining properties zoned R1 across town. The initiation of this phase is contingent upon the completion of substantial upgrades to the wastewater facility treatment plant expected in 2031. Impacts from this strategy are expected to be gradual, with uptake from as-of-right development permissions anticipated to be borne out over the course of years to decades. While this strategy aims to reduce barriers to the construction of different housing types and meet the housing needs of residents where market demand is highest, it is not expected that this initiative will lead to overwhelming demand for development right away. Development seen under the land use bylaw conversion allowance, which permits that additional unit as of right for structures built before 1975, includes only 60 instances of uptake, suggesting a limited number of developments in the near term ensuing from these changes. Since April 1st, 2024, Bridgewater has only seen 2 additional units developed within the R1 zone. This initiative aims to remove barriers to development on service land, focusing growth, providing opportunity for housing diversification as dictated by local demand. These changes will provide opportunities to grow housing options for seniors, young professionals, and single-person households across Bridgewater, enabling more efficient land use patterns while respecting the character of the neighborhoods. Our next steps, Phase 1 impacted properties will be notified with a public participation meeting, to be scheduled in mid-January. First reading would subsequently occur on January 26th of 2026, with second reading occurring February 23rd of next year. Phase 2 will follow the same schedule beginning in September of 2027, and Phase 3 is currently targeted for 2031 or upon substantial completion of upgrades to Bridgewater's wastewater treatment plant. The final phase will include text amendments to remove the R1 zone from the land use bylaw and municipal planning strategy. So it's a staff recommendation that council approve the strategy for phase removal of R1 single unit residential zoning in priority areas and proceed with land use bylaw amendments required for Phase 1 removal.
Great, thanks. Any questions from council? Councilor Newell.
I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater approve the strategy for phased removal of R1 single unit residential zoning in priority areas and proceed with LUB amendments required for Phase 1 removal of R1 zoning as identified on the map in Appendix A of document number 23-110L1.
Great, thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor McDonald. So just to recap, so I know people might, wonder, is this going to lead to their neighbor having a second unit and multiple cars? And as you noted, there has not been a huge amount of uptake. For me, I'm looking at it maybe differently, that this does create some opportunities for people because, as we know, we have the assessment cap issue in this province, which is creating a massive barrier for especially seniors who wish to downsize, except that downsizing means they'll probably go from a larger house to a smaller house, but pay substantially more property tax for a smaller house, which makes it cost prohibitive for them. So the ability to have these secondary units, perhaps with family that are looking to also care for that loved one, it just opens the doors that we have closed on a portion of the houses in the community. So to me, anything that helps kind of offset this monster that is the cap, that is creating huge problems, which we're going to talk about more as we get closer and closer to budget, but it's creating a situation where people cannot afford to downsize, people cannot afford to buy their first home. So I see this as maybe small, but an important step to make some more opportunities available in the community. So that's my 2 cents on that, Deputy Mayor.
And I know I asked this before, but just make sure all of the same requirements regarding buffering and setbacks, those still all exist, correct?
Absolutely. I can switch back to the slide if you'd like to see once more, but there will be no changes between the R1 and R2 zones. for any of these sorts of matters. So everything will be as it is today.
So a neighbor is not going to build a 4-story building directly on the property line?
Absolutely
All of those rules still in place. Great, thank you.
No, great question, and that chart's great to kind of alleviate that, yeah. Other questions?
More of a comment. You know, I want to recognize that, well, change can be really scary. You know, but a year ago when I was campaigning, the amount of people who said, you know, I'm really disappointed that my children, my grandchildren can't find an affordable place to live. And I think many of the items on the agenda that we're looking at tonight contributes to us making this town more affordable and more available to people who need a place to live. So I recognize change is scary, that it can feel a little different. We're a growing town, but I encourage people to also think about their kids, their grandkids, the future generations, that they want to not move away, they want to stay in town. Having a place to live, having access to affordable housing is an essential component to make those things happen. So I'm really proud of the work that staff is doing and that, you know, we're doing around this table to make that possible for people.
Thank you. All right, we have a mover and a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you, Evan. I think we're welcoming Sarah back for the SOTA request for financial support and property tax relief. We had the delegation obviously earlier, and now we have the staff component of that. So.
All right.
Thanks.
So SOTA approached council with a request for support for down payment to acquire properties and property tax relief. Staff have assessed what funds might be available to support a down payment amount and provide options for council. It's quite a long recommendation, so I won't read it all out now. I can save that for the end. But we've identified a couple of options through the Housing Accelerator funding, as well as de-transfer tax amount that is allowable to be granted back, and considering some conditions for what that funding might look like. So just to recap, SOTA has been offered exclusive access to purchase 82 housing units before they're listed on the open market, and requests that the town support by maintaining a tax levy at its current rate. And then I realized this amount was adjusted in the presentation that Josie presented this evening, but initially the request was financial support towards the total 5% of that down payment, which was $717,500. I believe the request this evening was addressed to 300,000 plus that property tax levy granted. So here are the properties outlined for you here. 50 of the units are located on King Street and bordered by Maple. And then 32 units are on Dufferin between St. Andrew and Alexandra Avenue, plus 9 additional units on Alexandra and 18 on St. Andrews. So the funds that have been identified as potential supports for this would be monies reallocated from the Housing Accelerator Fund, which were identified to support grants for affordable housing. Here you see the purpose and requirements of those grants. So council had worked to develop an affordable housing pre-construction grant with the purpose of increasing affordable housing supply in Bridgewater, helping non-market providers access federal and provincial funding at the initiation of a project, removing pre-construction phase barriers, and promoting sustainable long-term affordable housing solutions. Council in that grant had also identified project requirements, including the creation of a minimum of 4 new affordable housing units, that projects be located within the bounds of the town, that projects be mixed income with a minimum of 50% of units being affordable, that there be a 15-year minimum affordability commitment, and that the grant would be used for new construction, conversion, or substantial renovation that would create new net units. So considering SOTA's request and how it aligns with the original intention of these grants, this does preserve 82 existing affordable units that could be at risk of market conversion. It does align with the fund's affordability protection purposes. It does not create new affordable units, and it would reduce the available funds for other half program grant projects. So looking a little more closely at what funds might be available. In the current fiscal year, we do know that there is $100,000 that could be reallocated. $50,000 of that would be coming from money originally earmarked for wastewater modeling that was not expended. And then $50,000 would come from the affordable housing grant, which was originally set at $100,000 for this year. Next fiscal, I apologize, there is a typo on this slide. It says $100,000 would be the full grant allocation. We actually have $200,000 available for affordable housing grants for next year, but staff are recommending that $100,000 of that allocation be redirected to this acquisition. This fiscal commitment for next year would be contingent on receiving our full contribution from CMHC under the Housing Accelerator Funding Agreement, which we do expect to receive in December or January. Our anniversary date for that agreement is January 11th of this year. The deed transfer tax could be granted back, and that amount would be approximately $215,000 based on the sale price of the properties, and that could be provided as a direct grant upon property transfers. So considerations for town council for potential mechanisms that could be applied to any kind of funding contribution. You could apply a forgivable lien on the properties, for example, a small amount released over 15 years. The lien could be tied to a specific commitment of percentage of units to be maintained as affordable. Right now, SOTA has identified that 59% of units are affordable. Council could proceed with that as the commitment, or I know SOTA has requested that Council consider the same requirements that the province has put in place on their mortgage. Annual reporting requirements could be asked for. This would include rent rolls and affordability status verification, and that the property be offered to the town or another nonprofit before it might go to market sale if SOTA doesn't decide to sell. Clawback provisions could be also put in place for non-compliance. All right, so the full recommendation. Staff recommend that Town Council supports SOTA's acquisition of 82 units of housing located at the properties identified in Appendix A to support the preservation of affordable and attainable housing in the town of Bridgewater. Staff recommend the following financial support. That Council provides a grant in the amount of $100,000 from the current fiscal 2025-2026 Housing Accelerator Fund allocation towards down payment. That Council provides a second grant to be used towards down payment in the amount of $100,000 contingent on the town's receipt of the 2026-2027 fiscal year's allocation of Housing Accelerator Fund from CMHC in December of 2025. That Council provides a grant equal to the deed transfer tax amount collected on both property transactions, estimated at $215,000 total, to be provided following receipt of deed transfer tax payment at each property closing. And that Council directs staff and the CAO to condition the grant to SOTA to protect the town's investment by requiring that 59% of affordable housing be maintained. And further, that Council directs staff to return at a later date for additional analysis regarding property tax exemptions for affordable housing.
Thank you, Sarah. Questions from Council? Councilor Coughlin.
Thanks, Sarah. So there was a slide, a few slides ago, you mentioned about taking $50,000 from this year's Housing Accelerator Fund and $50,000 from wastewater modeling.
So under the Housing Accelerator Fund, we've allocated money to several different things, and that money can be used for infrastructure investments that are supportive of housing. So some of our Housing Accelerator Fund had been allocated to wastewater modeling for this year, and that was not all used. So that's like modeling equipment, consultant fees, those types of things. So there's $50,000 remaining in that portion. It's all under Housing Accelerator Fund, yeah.
Okay, thanks. One other question. Yep. The lien, the 15-year lien. I guess what's the thinking behind that? Like, what are we talking here? Like a lien on the property. So if SOTA doesn't fulfill their obligations, then what are we gonna do with this lien?
So it would be a reduced amount over time. So as the risk basically goes down, what the town would seek to recuperate would be less. So if they, keep it affordable for 10 years and then they're, for whatever reason, unable to continue for that last 5 years, we would only be asking for a portion that would represent that 5 years of funding if we were to spread that funding out over 15 years. So you would take your $200,000, divide it by 15, and you would kind of forgive that amount year over year until you get it down to zero.
So we wouldn't necessarily be putting a lien on the properties.
It would be in a contribution agreement, basically.
Yeah.
We could do a lien. That is a possibility if we want to take that legal mechanism. It is.
Yeah, well, I'm thinking with, I think we're looking at 95% financing with the government, CMHC and
Yeah.
whatever, so really there's no equity left. So it's a moot point doing a lien on anything, really. If we had to act on a lien, we definitely wouldn't see a penny, because the majority would go to the primary lender.
We would likely be in second
Yeah.
on any lien.
Yeah, and that's, yeah.
It would just be it would be part of the terms and conditions of the contribution versus a lien, I think.
Yeah, and those, you could take either route.
Yeah, the lien is if they then can't afford to pay us back what they owe us, but they have an asset that
Yeah,
is
but
gonna
we couldn't
appreciate.
exercise that if the lender in the first position
Took everything?
doesn't like subrogate to us, like if they don't stand aside, basically, which they wouldn't, they won't, because they want to get their money, right? Anyway, that's just,
I think that may be why Modal took that different approach where they can't sell the building before the mortgage is paid off. That's another way to try to protect those public funds.
yeah.
Other questions from
Thanks.
council? Councilor Newell?
Yeah, so I think based on staff's recommendation, we're at the 200 to the 300,000. Do we have confidence this project's going to continue if we vote in favor of it?
I'm not sure I quite understand
I
the
think-
question. The Housing Accelerator Fund
Sorry,
will continue?
like
or-
SOTA's ask was 300 plus the D-transfer tax. Our recommendation, the recommendation presented in front of us currently is 200,000 plus the D-transfer tax. So there's a $100,000 gap. Do we have confidence that this project will proceed if we do not fill that gap?
I know they are seeking to fill that gap and making every effort to do so. I think that would be, SOTA would be best able to answer that. I mean, we know what the request is. We do have $200,000 that was earmarked next year in grants for the Housing Accelerator Fund. It's to the decision of council whether they feel they're able to support in that full amount or a proportion. But to the viability, I'm not sure I could speak to that because I'm not sure of what other options Josie has before her.
I was a little disappointed to hear that she did not approach Queens. Especially when some of the surplus that they will, if this proceeds, will generate, will go to develop housing in Queens, which is great. That's fantastic. But it was disappointing to have, in this case, asking the town of Bridgewater and Municipality District of Lunenburg to put in their taxpayer funds that will eventually work towards creating housing in other municipalities that are not being asked to put in. So we see this time and time again. I think we even asked that they approach Lunenburg and Mahone Bay as well, like unsecure housing and homelessness is not just a Bridgewater thing. People do face it more here because they come here because we have the other services, but anyone living in those other communities would be kidding themselves if they said that this is a Bridgewater only problem. So I was disappointed to hear that, especially when council made it very, very clear, please go and talk to Queens. So just going back to your question, I certainly support the recommendation, but if there's $100,000 missing, there were other people that could have been asked for that money. So, I'm not gonna lose any sleep over that, if that's what it comes to, if there's a shortfall because other communities were not asked to help support what is a regional, I mean, to me, this is a great opportunity. But if other communities were not asked, there was time to ask, they could have asked, and they should have been asked, so, anyway, that's just, I appreciate your question, because it led me to my, my thought. Councillor Wynot.
I also noticed in the request about the tax exemption or tax break, when does that, that's not a part of the recommendation today, would that come back to council should this be finalized? Is that the idea?
Yeah, so they'll come back with some options, right? So it'll be, I'm assuming it'll be based on whatever they're assessed at after the sale. I'm looking at the Director of Finance, but I think the issue is once the cap is unleashed.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go on a cap rant, but once the cap is unleashed, their taxes are going to go really high, and they're going to be asking for council, whatever that looks like, to make it go back to where it was.
So that doesn't need to be discussed this evening, that would be post-sale?
They can make an application for tax reduction.
Yeah, that's later date.
Thanks for clarifying.
And I believe the intention is that staff come back with a general approach for property tax exemption for affordable housing. That is something we were looking at through the Housing Accelerator Fund and have had earlier discussions and some direction from council around that as well.
The reason I ask is, I think it's pretty obvious the financial commitments that we have coming up over the next 10 years, and there's a level of service we need to provide, affordable housing or not. So I'm just a little concerned about that particular part, but that sounds like a debate for another day, but just wanted to.
That's a good question though, yeah. So that part will come back. Okay. Councilor Conklin?
So our deed transfer tax is at 1.5%. So actually, well, you could probably answer this. What does the do we receive all 1.5% or does a portion of that? Okay. Yeah. And the value of the transaction that we're looking at, so the purchase price. I believe it's
14 million.
Pardon me?
14 million.
Okay. And that's how we got the 215-ish.
Correct. Yeah.
All right. So I don't know, how that deed transfer tax works, if it would be on the sale price. I guess they wouldn't be privy to the appraised values.
It's assessed.
It's on the sale
based
price.
On the sale.
Unless it was lower than the sale price. Okay, gotcha. Maybe, Kim, you could answer this. What was the percentage increase the town received on a residential property tax rate just from the bump in assessed values? Given that, our tax rate remained the same, right, at $1.85, so our
specifically these properties, or
well, no, okay,
I don't know what you're asking.
So I guess overall, the town the provincial assessment on the town on residential properties in the town. What was the increase year over year? Was it like 11%?
Last year?
Yeah.
For residential, it was close to that. We do know going into fiscal 26-27 that capped properties are only going up by 2.6%.
Okay.
So that means the only other growth we will have above 2.6% are properties that lost the cap or new properties.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not expecting it to be in that range this year, but we should know in the next couple of weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it was 11% year over year last year.
I don't have it in front of me, but yeah, it was fairly
11.
significant
Yeah.
still. But when there are property transactions short of losing the cap, some of those things take a couple years to work themselves through. So we were still expecting that big increase last year from some of the prior transactions. So, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Other questions, Councillor Conklin?
So another concern would be, I look at this as a two-part type of deal. So let's say we, council is fine with this recommendation, but the property tax issue. So we're not addressing that tonight. And let's say council wants to remain firm on no property tax exemption, given the current circumstances. So I guess what, I'd like to know, like, what contingencies would SODA have in place to address that?
But that would be a SODA question. You
Yeah.
should have asked that question to Josie,
I
sorry.
suppose.
I don't want to interrupt you, I just don't want to put Sarah on the spot.
Okay, yeah, no,
a
that's
SODA
fair.
question.
Yeah, okay, no, I'm good with that. Yeah, done with my questions, thank you,
Councilor
Sarah.
Conklin, it was 8.4% residential growth for the 25-26 fiscal year.
Okay,
There was a
thanks.
table
I saw 11.1 somewhere, but,
a couple years before that.
okay, thank you.
Deputy Mayor, yep.
So on the Housing Accelerator Fund,
Mhm.
so that is money we received from the province to enable development.
From the federal government.
Right, from the federal government. We have to spend it. We need to get it out there to be used to develop housing, and we've prioritized some affordable housing in that plan as well. So the money in the first year, some of it's surplus, some of it's coming from another grant, which is fine. And we're very confident that we can still meet the requirements, and our funder is okay with us kind of reallocating that money. We're not going to face a penalty because we weren't able to meet.
We did
With the
confirm with the
expectations?
funder that they would be supportive of this reallocation, and they were very clear that they would be.
Okay, and staff is confident that we are going to meet our requirements for that funding and not face penalty?
We believe so. To date, we've been meeting our milestones, and every conversation we've had with them, they have indicated that we're proceeding as we should be.
Great, thank you.
Other questions from council? Someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Newell, thank you.
Just before I make the motion, I just want to echo that I personally would love to see, when the tax conversation does come up, I personally would love to see an overall strategy. Whether SODA happens to be the driving force, I would love to see an overall strategy rather than just something specific. But to your worship, I would like to move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater provide a grant to the South Shore Open Doors Society towards the acquisition of 82 units of housing identified in Appendix A of document number 25-172B to support preservation of affordable and attainable housing in the town of Bridgewater as follows. A, 100,000 from the 2025-2026 Housing Accelerator Fund allocation, an amount equal to the deed transfer tax collected on both property transactions, estimated at a total of 215,000. C, 100,000 contingent on the town's receipt of the 2026-27 fiscal year's allocation of the Housing Accelerator Fund in December 2025. And D, with the following conditions: that 1, SODA maintains 59% of units as affordable housing, and 2, forgivable property lien to be released over 15 years, and further that council direct staff to at a later date with an analysis to return at a later date with an analysis regarding property tax exemptions for affordable housing.
Are you seconding?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Can I just, there's nothing in here about reporting, so I was just wondering if that, do we need that in the motion that we have? That I was looking at maybe number 1, SODA maintains 59% of the units as affordable housing and confirms with reporting and documentation. Is that?
Good catch.
That,
Yep.
well, everyone's okay with adding that to the?
So we're amending the motion?
Yeah. I was hoping to do it before we had asked for a second.
Okay, so we're adding that condition to the motion?
Yes.
Is that it?
If everyone's okay with.
Yeah, in
adding
fairness,
that.
you didn't ask for a seconder.
I didn't ask for a seconder because.
You didn't get one, yeah.
Yeah.
So, sorry, could you just repeat that condition?
Yeah, so it's, SODA maintains 59% of the units as affordable, and provides reports with supporting documentation. Yeah. I mean, that was throughout the staff report and recommendation, so I'm just kind of throwing it back in there. Yes, Councillor.
Another question about the motion.
Okay.
So there was some discussion about the terminology of a lien. Are we comfortable with that in the motion?
Yeah, is property lien versus?
So I have been told that the forgivable lien model is what the province uses for affordable housing as well. But I mean, the other option is to adopt the modal, same condition that modal has put forward, and we could use that one as well for, can't sell the building before the mortgage is paid off. That may be more effective to Councillor Conklin's concern if the lien is not going to be effective.
So that just gets worked in the contribution agreement then?
Yep.
Okay.
Could that option result in affordable housing that is not being maintained at a reasonable level? If they can't sell it before the mortgage is paid off and they're having trouble financially covering the costs, then repairs and upgrades may not be happening, and then we have subpar affordable housing. Is that a concern or a risk?
How is theirs phrased? That they just can't sell it, or if they do sell it before that, they get their money back?
I haven't actually seen the words, I just heard.
Because those are two different things.
Yeah.
The second one, where if they sold it before, we would just get our funding back.
Okay.
Kind of prevents
Right.
your concern,
Right,
which I
yeah.
get, versus the other.
May I?
Yeah.
Not to insert myself in this, but I don't think that they would be barred from selling. It would be that those funds would have to be recouped through the
Right.
sale.
Gotcha, you're right.
Yep.
So it's wording that number 2, forgivable property lien. Does that
So,
capture that? No, we need some different phrasing.
so we're kind of in the middle of a motion that hasn't been seconded yet.
Right.
So we could actually say that that condition phrase is, we could figure out the details of that condition so that it protects the interests of the town of Bridgewater and its residents. And then we could figure out to include what's there in terms of the 59%. And then we could work out those additional details for the other bits and pieces.
Okay. Yeah, you just
If
have to,
that's amenable to council.
you're going to have to help me through amended motions, because in my many, many years around this table, I can think of on one hand the number of times in 17 years that we've amended a motion.
So I would say technically the motion hasn't been seconded yet. So
Right.
I would say it's not on the floor.
Right, so we can continue.
So I think we could make the amendment to the motion and then actually
I was
move
like,
it
do I
and
need to just
second it.
repeat my motion with the edit?
No, so that's what I was hoping by not calling for a seconder, is we don't need to then vote on an amended motion. We can just work, we can word.
You just slipped it in there right before it got seconded, so.
Now you know why.
Yeah.
We have the discussion and debate before we put motions on the floor. I don't know how people do it the other way around. Okay, so we need to, what are you proposing for that number 2?
So the motion as read by Councillor Newell, including clauses A, B, and C as written in the motion.
Yep.
And then clause D would say, paragraph 1, which is SOTA maintains 59% of the units as affordable housing. And then condition 2 is other appropriate conditions to be determined prior to the signing of the contribution agreement.
Yeah, so number 1 includes and provides reports and supporting documentation. In
Okay.
terms of maintaining the 59%, like, we have to, we
So-
need to know it's being maintained at 59%.
Condition 1 provides ongoing reporting with supporting documentation.
Yep.
Condition 2, SOTA maintains the 59% of units as affordable housing.
I think they go together.
Okay.
Do you want me to read it again?
I'm-
Number 1, SOTA maintains 59% of the units as affordable housing and reports
okay.
with supporting documentation.
Okay.
Okay? Councillor Frazier,
If we
help
could
us out.
maybe just add clarity to annual reporting. I think that's.
Provides
Oh, thank you.
ongoing annual reporting.
And supporting
With rent rolls and affordable status verification. That's
Yeah.
what was in your
Which was in the package from
presentation.
staff.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we're not really adding anything that wasn't included in
Yep.
the presentation.
With rent rolls
As
and
creative as
supporting
we are.
documentation, okay.
Councillor Cowell.
Since we're way down in the weeds here, just to be accurate, should we say minimum 59%? It says maintains 59% of the units. I don't know if that's necessary or not.
Well, it provides
Probably.
clarity.
Yep.
Everyone's in agreement on that one?
Provides minimum 59% of the units as affordable housing and provides ongoing annual reporting with rent rolls and supporting documentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
And for number 2, the forgivable property lien, how do you want to phrase that?
So if you don't like the forgivable property lien, we can go with other appropriate conditions to protect the town of Bridgewater's interests. and we can just check with what Modal's doing, and we can work that into the contribution agreement?
Okay.
Or do you want to be more specific?
Should we say, and lien terms to be determined by staff?
Yeah, we could say lien terms or contribution agreement terms to be determined by staff to ensure protection of the town's contribution.
I like
Yeah.
that.
So I'm okay, it's just that I think Councillor Conklin's point on the lien, there's the,
Well, I mean, let's say chances are that properties are going to come in appraised at a much higher value, but there's no guarantee. We don't have an appraisal on file yet. So it's possible, but not probable, that the properties come in at purchase price or even lower. And if that's the case, then basically, like, there's virtually no equity there. So, I mean, you're never going to be able to collect anything. I don't know. I mean, either way, I really don't know if, if everything, if this happens to fall apart completely in a couple of years, whatever happens. How are we sure that we would receive, or Modal would receive their 100,000 back? Like if they become insolvent?
yeah.
I know you got the province behind it, but I mean,
It's a great point. So I would just say this, that the two half contributions are actually grant money. So it's not coming straight from the town of Bridgewater's money. And the second one is a deed transfer tax, which could be stopped, after that business is. So that's really that deed transfer tax is the only real town of money Bridgewater is putting forward at the time. So if that helps to ease some of that.
Of which we would end up getting if they had to sell the property if they were insolvent, right?
That's
Yeah,
true.
and the good news is if they have to sell it again, we're going
Yeah,
to
if they
get
have to sell
deed
it again,
transfer
yeah.
tax
Okay.
again. So.
Okay.
And I think, just if I may, I think one other addition is, as a small piece of reassurance, it's like, let's assume this happens in 5 years or whatever, property values presumably will only go up. I feel like, so every year they continue to hold on to the property. In theory, the property values will go up. They're paying down their mortgage. I think our risk exposure of not getting paid goes down annually as they build equity in the properties.
that's probable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what we're working on, right?
Yeah,
Working with
there's still a
probabilities.
possibility. You just.
All right, did you
Never know.
did you capture, we've got one nailed down.
No, I think we need to just recap and make sure we're clear on that second.
Yep, I just want to
second
be
condition.
sure.
Yep.
Okay, so the motion through C is clear.
Yep.
As written. D, that SOTA maintains a minimum 59% of the units as affordable housing and provides annual reports and supporting documentation.
Rent rolls, supporting documentation,
yeah.
yep.
And 2, this is where we're, that, did we say we're going to leave it to staff?
Other conditions to protect the town of Bridgewater's interests as determined by staff.
Yeah. Financial interests.
And I'll let you know what that is if there's something, that we think is appropriate. We'll let you know what that is.
Is that maybe something that goes to legal to provide recommendations on how we protect the assets or the contribution?
It would be written in the contribution agreement, which
Yeah.
you would get
Yeah.
someone to look at.
We could, yep.
Yeah. Someone would have to review the contribution
Right.
agreement. Yeah. Okay. So we have a mover. Do we have we ready?
Not this time.
Do we have a seconder? Councilor Bergier. Further discussion? Deputy Mayor?
Just wanted to repeat something that the acting CAO said for the public's interest. So the $200,000 is coming from the federal government. It's not coming from taxpayers' dollars from property taxes. And the $215,000 from deed transfer tax, should that property have never gone up for sale, we would never have seen that money.
Correct.
So it's not money coming out of regular taxpayer dollars that we have to find and take from somewhere else. So I just wanted that to be clear for the public as well, where that money's coming from and where it's not coming from.
Yep. Okay, thank you. So we have a mover and we have a seconder. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Thank you, Sarah.
Thanks, Sarah.
I wouldn't normally do this, but I do want to just note, it's refreshing to have a property owner concerned about the well-being of tenants and wanting to make sure that the housing that they're in, the secure, affordable housing they're in, remains secure and affordable, so I appreciate that. Down to 10.3, Bridgewater Farmers Market request for lease renewal for 2026 to 2030.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Anybody just stand up and shake it out a little?
I keep seeing Councillor Wynot's watch go off saying, time to stand, time to stand.
I welcome the opportunity, thank you. Great to be here before you this evening. Since 2020, the Bridgewater Farmers Market has been leasing the space at 123 Empire Street for the operation of the Bridgewater Farmers Market from the town of Bridgewater. They have come forward and presented to the general public on November 13th the Farmers Market feasibility study, wherein they looked at the feasibility, their plans for the future, and it also assessed their current location from which they operate to determine if that was of interest, given that their current lease was about to expire at the end of December of 2025. When they came before us here at Council last month, in November, on November 24th, they expressed their desire to continue operating the market from 123 Empire Street and wanted to renew their lease for 5 years. A review was undertaken of the current lease, which has been in place for the last 3 years, reflecting on those items and in discussion with yourselves in camera and reviewing them with the Bridgewater Farmers Market. There are a number of adjustments to the current lease that we're bringing forward as a part of a recommendation for a renewed lease for what will be a period of 5 years, but it's tied to 3 years for the first term with the option to renew for the second 2. The lease being over that period of time would tie them to January 1st, and that's a bit of an expansion. To date, they've been operating from May until the end of December. Part of their annual plan and their feasibility study is to look at a year-round opportunity to grow the market, but also the use of the space to diversify their revenue streams and support within the community. So their lease would begin January 1st of 2026 and continue for the first 3 years until December 31, 2028. And then, subject to review by both the farmers market and yourselves, we would come forward with a subsequent 2-year lease, which would give them the 5-year. The yearly rental amount would continue in the format that we've had in place over the past 3 years. There is a base that has been incrementing annually by $500. As a result, the 2026 amount would be $4,000 for their annual lease, and then increase to $4,500 in the subsequent year, and then to $5,000 for the first 3 years. The lease amounts for the second term of 2 years would actually come back to council and be reviewed at that time to determine next steps going forward based on their evolution. Rentals to outside organizations are encouraged, but we've maintained the component within the existing lease that the town reserves the right to collect 25% of all external rental fees to help offset operating costs. The lease agreement requires maintenance of appropriate insurance per the town requirements annually, and they have confirmed that their existing insurance and going into the future will satisfy that. Starting in 2026, the town will begin looking at transition of the utility costs to the Bridgewater Farmers Market so that they are absorbing the costs associated with heat and lights, and better able to reflect their operating budget. We'll be moving through that process. It requires some adjustments on our end in establishing a meter for those utilities and looking at how to best satisfy that. The lease agreement for the use of this facility at 123 Empire and the specific property, which is their current use on the main floor of the former Bridgewater Memorial Arena, and the defined area outside, which is used for their outdoor vendors, frames the lease area for this, and it is an as-is, where-is facility currently. Any discussions relating to capital projects or renovations would have to come before council, as those have not been identified in the budget, nor have framed this portion of the lease. So this proposed new lease for this 3 + 2 years has been reviewed by our solicitor and complies with all requirements, and it would be staff's recommendation to council to entertain this renewal of an amended lease for the Bridgewater Farmers Market at 123 Empire Street.
Thank you. Questions for Economic Development Officer? Hearing none, is someone prepared to make a motion? Councilor Newell, thank you.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater direct the acting CIO to proceed with the execution of a renewable lease agreement for up to 5 years with the Bridgewater Farmers Market to be effective January 1st, 2026, within the main level of the town-owned facility and outdoor vending area located at 123 Empire Street, based on the terms and conditions as set out within the lease agreement as presented in document number 25-180A.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Wynot. Further discussion? Yep.
Sorry, one question. So this is a lease for the existing usage of the building and the grounds, right?
Correct.
Okay. And if things change, then we would have to look at renegotiating.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. Down to 2026-27 capital budget presentation from our Director of Finance. While she comes up, just a reminder for the public who are watching that all the documentation that we have is available on the town's website under council agendas, and you can see everything that we have, including this presentation. And just for additional context as they get set up, this is council's kind of first presentation on the capital budget at a public council meeting. So we're not in budget season yet. We're not debating this or making decisions on this tonight, but we are getting kind of a roadmap of things to come.
Sure. You'll forgive us for sitting this time, but we think we could be here for a while, and the Director of Engineering usually ends up getting out of his seat 20 times, so I told him he had to sit up here with me.
That's a good call.
So you should have the presentation. We've circulated the draft capital budget as of December 1st. Again, just noting that it is draft, and when you see it again, it'll change again. There actually is my version is dated today because there's been subsequent changes. For example, the award of the fire truck tender earlier this evening just updates the capital budget one more time. So as we talk about debt service ratios and things like that, keep in mind the presentation is based on the December 1st capital budget as it appeared at that time, and all the numbers will change again for you. In the meantime, we'll get started. So again, this presentation will look similar to what you've seen in prior years when we take that first look at the capital budget, just give you kind of some big picture, and then we'll get into the details of the 26-27 capital and then some of the years subsequent to that. So you'll note the 26-27 is a pretty significant capital budget year. And so with that, we have 12 million in grants and 13.9 million in debt to fund that, along with some other smaller sources of revenue. You'll see the debt service ratio projected for 26-27 is 6.45%. Seems pretty reasonable given all the things I've scared you with over the past couple years. But keep in mind the carry forward amount of debt of 18.9 million plus the debt required for 26-27 of 13.9 million is assumed to be borrowed in 27-28, and that's reflected in the 17.74% debt service ratio in that year. So the debt service ratio doesn't reflect in the year you see the debt in the funding. It comes through the following year, so it jumps from 6 to 17 because of those couple of years of debt. Just to give you a sense of that, and you'll see in the year 31-32, the debt service ratio would get to 33.26% based on this draft budget. Again, just another summary to show you the investment by category. So looking at some of the higher categories, you'll see to your far right, the transportation column is 22.5 million over the next 10 years. That includes street paving and a lot of intersection improvements, crosswalks, sidewalks, and projects like that. Wastewater is 81.3 million, and the wastewater treatment plant is at 56 million. So just to give you a kind of by category for the total of each of the 10 years. There's some other smaller categories there, but we just really wanted to highlight those that a lot of this budget focuses on. And just again, another way to look at the debt service ratio that was a couple slides ago, just so you can kind of see the direction that we're headed over the next 10 years. Just reminding council also that at around 15% debt service ratio, the province starts getting concerned and starts asking us tougher questions and doesn't just, rubber stamp our request for temporary borrowing and long-term borrowing. And they will likely deny anything over 30%. So even though I'm showing you the debt service ratios based on this capital budget, we likely wouldn't even be able to do all of these projects with this debt funding because the province would likely intervene at that point. All right, so just when looking at the capital budget document, especially for the public, I know I put a little legend on the front, but just reminding everybody that items in green are DMAF funded projects, and that's federal and provincial funding coming in for those, and we have committed to those. So the green items can't be changed. They are committed to in funding agreements. Things color-coded in purple, those are projects that have been identified by council or through strategic priority setting or staff as projects, but they may be ones that are discretionary, so they might not be very specific. They may not be necessary, they might be desired, but will, I guess, take council's decision whether they move forward or not based on recommendations and what's discussed. But those are ones that, if we were going to prioritize, those might be ones you want to focus on. So just a few highlights from last year's approved capital budget to what's in this one, just to give you some highlights so you don't have to go find them for yourselves. Last year was the first year we had expansion of the wastewater treatment plant in the capital budget, and it was added at 15 million. At this point in time, based on additional information, we're expecting that to be 50.5 million. So it's a significant increase. However, it's based on our capacity requirements that have been identified. A few other projects to note just as we get closer to design and some of the other information becomes available. There were a number of projects that have had significant increases in cost estimates, and a lot of those are also DMAF related projects, being LaHave Street Phase 1, Downtown Phase 3, Dufferin Street Phases 2 and 3, and High Street Phase 4 have all seen significant increase in estimates since the last budget. The good news is we have up-to-date information. When I looked specifically at the fire truck and noting that it was in the budget for 1.2 million in April of 2020 when the capital budget was approved, and we barely acknowledged, increases in that estimate, largely because it was unknown, but also had we factored in a 5% increase, we might have had the budget at 1.6, which would have been a lot closer. So, we're not always analyzing, we don't always have information, and tariffs have thrown a monkey wrench in that. So I know it's not great when we give you some of these revised estimates, but it prevents surprises down the road at award, hopefully, or more so. Less likely to surprise you. So as much
Deputy Mayor,
as...
yeah.
Is that consistent among most of the projects? Or are there just a few that we found doubled?
These are the significant ones, and I can't speak for the Director of Engineering, but I think some of them have been, it's just the scope of the project might have changed, and also the cost estimates might have changed. Because I think like LaHave Street could be one that what we thought might happen is probably different than maybe what we're knowing needs to happen, for example.
Thank you.
Okay. The water tower has been in the capital budget for quite a number of years. And so we have moved that one out a couple years just because it's impacting that debt service ratio. There's been no progress in this fiscal year on it, so we're assuming we're maybe a couple years out before we need to borrow, so at least it's not, one of those things affecting the debt service ratio for 26, 27.
Can we, I've raised this before, but it's bothering me. So the water tower has an interest clause in it in terms of our agreement.
A price escalation, yes.
Price escalation in our agreement with the Municipality of District of Lunenburg, but it is being delayed due to no fault of our own. So my worry is if this is a lower priority for the other municipality and they wait 10 more years to trigger the water tower, we're paying the ever-increasing cost. So do we need a legal opinion on, or can we ask for an amendment? Like at some point the interest has to stop. Like they can wait 20 years if they want, but do you know what I mean? Like
it's in a signed agreement, so it would be at the discretion of council to direct staff to renegotiate or come to different terms, I suppose.
Yeah,
as not the acting CA.
Because federal and provincial funding was provided 2020, maybe?
They're likely as soon an expiration date on that funding, I presume.
Right. So to me, like the wind down clock for our escalating contribution should have begun with the announcement that funding was being provided, and we moved forward. Land, I think they were working on land. We had engineering has done a lot of work, and Public Service Commission on the tower. I mean, if you need direction, I would love council to give direction to staff to renegotiate this so that at least our escalating contribution ceases. Do you know what I mean? Like it seems unreasonable and unfair that we are now paying more because it is a lower priority for someone else. So we can go through this and circle back to that. It doesn't even have to be a today thing, but it needs to be addressed.
I think there's two other opportunities to address it. One, you've got the Regional Growth Management Committee tomorrow, and then the PSC sits on Thursday evening, and that's probably a good venue for it as well.
So why don't can you make a note for tomorrow for the Regional Growth Management Committee? Maybe we'll talk about it there. We'll get back to you. Okay, sorry.
No problem. Intersection upgrades on Aberdeen and North. There's some future decisions of council on that design work. And Jubilee Road, you'll note there is budget for that project, which is only the town of Bridgewater's interest. But there is potential that Modal would be paying for their portion of any upgrades they require for things they have going on. I know that the capital carry forward list always looks a little overwhelming for council, and so when we look at that one, it's a total carry forward of $39 million, which is significant, but highlighting just three of those projects. The business park and interchange work at $17.8 million. At this point in time, I anticipate we could see a turnover of that and finalization of that project by the province by March 31st. But I haven't heard anything. I'm not in a big rush to borrow the rest of the money, so I won't be shaking that tree, but it is possible that one could be completed and may not be on the carry forward list. For the most part, most of that work is complete. We're just, St. Philip Street was part of that project, the water main portion, and that is still ongoing. In addition to that, we have the St. Philip Street storm sewer project, which was part of DMAF, as well as Pump Station 3, which is on the other side of the river at $7.8 million. So those are three multi-year projects that are in that carry forward. And with the business park and St. Philip's, a large portion of those budgets are spent. It's not like we haven't spent those funds, it's just we can't finalize them and take them out of the budget until they're done, capitalized and financed. So that's why they kind of stand out. Whereas Pump Station 3 is still in the design stage, but we include it in the budget so that we can award things throughout the fiscal year. So the remaining projects equal about 8.1 million. Looking at the 26-27 capital, we basically just separated by categories, so it's a little easier to look at. So the first category is facilities, and note these are all highlighted purple, so I kept that same coloring you're seeing in the physical budget document. And so facilities, the capital for 26-27 totals $247,000, most of which relates to the BMA through either exterior, interior, and parking lot renovations, as well as resurfacing of the museum parking lot.
Councillor Conklin.
With respect to resurfacing the BMA parking lot, I remember having this discussed ad nauseum there this time last year, but there was an opportunity to have it resurfaced with the equipment or the company that was doing Empire, right? And we were
A portion of it.
Yeah, a portion of it.
Okay, did that happen?
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay, thanks.
Any other questions on facilities? Okay. Next is fire. So again, as noted earlier, the fire truck replacement is in at what it was in the budget for last year. This will be amended to I'll probably come in at 1.885 million, just so I can round it to a number. And we'll see the debt amount escalate in that category by another approximately $585,000.
Can someone just explain Road to LaHave River water access? Like,
Eeny, meeny,
So,
miny, moe.
this has been a request of the Bridgewater Fire Department for a number of years. What we had trouble with is getting approval from the Department of Transportation because the access road is within the 103 corridor. So luckily, through Jonathan's effort, he made contact. They did approve for us to put the access road to LaHave River, which is part, my understanding, the Bridgewater Fire Department's emergency planning for firefighting in that vicinity, in that area. So,
all right. Thank you.
It's been a long-standing request, but we were able to make some headway this year on it.
Okay, thanks for the clarification. Okay.
The next category is fleet and equipment, for a total in 26-27 of $1,975,000. A variety of pieces of equipment, mostly related to public works and vehicles. There is one item there in purple, the rest are not, and that would be vehicle GPS system. This is largely a request of the finance department and our insurer, because if there were an incident and we don't know the last, to the second when a plow had passed through, or perhaps when a street was salted, and we're estimating based on schedules, we're a lot less precise. If GPSs are in vehicles, it is a lot easier for when there is an incident to have exact information. It might also allow us to have some technology in vehicles that we don't have right now. And it adds a lot of functionality if we're going to go that route, but it is certainly my department that has a vested interest in that happening. Although I'm sure engineering will benefit too.
Councillor Newell?
How many vehicles is going to be outfitted as part of that, or would be a part of the
We
GPS
have not
system?
scoped that project out at this point in time. We do have an asset management staff member who, as we acquire asset management software and some of these things, hopefully that would be kind of intertwined with that role in that project, but also with engineering and finance involved as well, because we all have a vested interest in what that looks like and what information we can get from
Because
that.
equally, I assume something like that will probably have an ongoing monthly or annual cost to it.
In all likelihood, we haven't looked at vendors or anything like that, which is just to kind of get us started.
So the main goal, depending on what is achievable within the budget, conversations with Director of Finance would be at least getting our plow trucks, which we would have 6 on the road, and 4 sidewalk plows. So at a minimum, we would try to get our snow removal equipment, about 10 units that we try to get.
And at a maximum, the entire fleet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, like just give us a range.
That's a good range.
Councillor Conklin.
Do we know if this type of software could be integrated into a route optimization analysis, perhaps, Matt?
I'm sure with the data collected that it could benefit an analysis of the routes themselves. So I think the first thing staff would do is to see if we are actually duplicating routes through truck drivers going over multiple themselves. So staff would take a look at it. Using it beyond that, having somebody do another route optimization, I'm sure that would be possible.
You mentioned another route optimization. Did we have one?
It was discussed, but I guess the conversation at the staff level, we've talked to our operators who've been, many doing the job for a number of years, and you listen to CB radio, they do quite a good job of messaging each other. If you're not finished, okay, I'm coming over to help. So, I mean, I think staff do a very good job within the means that we have.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
But certainly data is always worth looking at to see if there is an option of seeing something maybe different that you don't see live on the ground.
Yeah, I'm thinking more like, I'm sure that they do a great job in being efficient as far as not plowing a road that's been plowed, but there's always a different way to skin a cat. I mean, what UPS, what do they do? Left-hand turns?
No left-hand.
No left-hand turns, and it's saved them, X amount of dollars on gas and hours and everything. So the route optimization, I guess, I'm more interested in how we tackle the roads in Bridgewater, starting points to finish points, and everything in between. So who knows? Maybe it could shorten everything by half an hour or an hour. I don't know. But I think I recall you coming back one time with a quote that you kind of looked into. Like it was like 150,000 or something just for an analysis.
I have, not that I recall that I provided something directly on that. That could be my predecessor, or it could have been at another staff discussion that I'm not aware of, but I don't have a quote for route optimization.
I've taken a note down so we can
Yeah.
we can follow up.
I don't think it was a formal quote. It was, anyway, we'll take this off camera. Thanks.
You got it.
Thank you.
Making notes.
Yeah, I'm making note.
All right.
All right. Anything else on the fleet and equipment? Okay. The next on the list are parks. So you'll see quite a number of projects that have been discussed at various times. Dog park lighting, the GAP plan, and in 26-27, part of that's the accessible playground, for which there is grant funding of $417,500. That has a timeline in which it needs to be spent. Kinsman Field accessibility, Brookside Cemetery road resurfacing, and continuation of the Winburn Avenue Park project.
Councillor Caldwell.
How's the Kinsman Field? Just wondering why the amount of 40,000.
So we, to date, we've done some work with our regional accessibility coordinator, who's given us some advice in terms of the improvements that should be completed or that should be planned. However, there's not a transition from ideas to budget. That is not also staff expertise in this area, so we are looking to take what Ellen has done to date and move it into the budget in terms of numbers, phasing the work.
The next category is policing. So there is one marked patrol vehicle, as well as some other equipment that they need a call logger and live scan. Their current live scan system needs to be replaced for a total of $147,000. The next is under the public works category, and that's a salt shed replacement cover for $55,000. The next category is transportation for a total of 2.8 million. That includes traffic lights and upgrades at Aberdeen and North, our annual pavement renewal of 800,000, sidewalk improvements, North Parkade repairs, crosswalk, as well as lights at Dufferin and York.
Deputy Mayor.
The North Parkade repairs, deck railings, that sounds like it's important. Safety issue. There's electrical, potential EV charger location. Why are those things not discretionary?
So my apologies. So I've vetted the budget as much as I could, but there is some old, so that is, those statements are carried over from when I first started. So at this point, what I can say is that council should be expecting a report from staff on the assessment, and so that will carry through in budgeting those recommendations. So yes, in terms of the potential EV charger, certainly that will be discretionary, but I guess I'm looking more as a line item for the project as a whole, not those individual items.
Okay. Just to clarify, so there will be an assessment on the parkade, and it's a good idea to have an amount in there for whatever comes out of that assessment. Is that what you're saying?
So at this point, when we developed the budget, I've left those numbers in there that was previously there. The report that is forthcoming will adjust those numbers. I expect those to go up.
Okay. Thank you.
Depending on how we phase it. Yes.
Thank you, retracted.
Yeah.
Aren't you glad you asked your
That's
question?
my comment about more information earlier.
Yeah.
Keeps moving the budget around while it's in draft.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks a lot, Matt.
Councilor Caldwell.
I know that we've discussed options for Aberdeen and North. So what is currently budgeted there? What is the plan for that budget?
That
Just remind
budget
me.
at 3.1.
Yeah.
So staff I would have put in the worst case scenario, which would be the roundabout.
Oh, that is for the roundabout.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So again, that is another memo that is forthcoming. So the consultant has done that review of level of service to give council the idea of what maintaining traffic signals or versus a roundabout will cost. So I don't want to give that news right now. That report should be.
I consider that the best case scenario, not the worst.
We expect that probably sometime in January that you'll get a new updated figure that you can then deliberate.
Okay.
I like that.
You like 3.1 million you like?
No, sorry, I'll clarify. I like the fact that we may not have to wait for a flashing green light at 4 a.m. Thank you.
Can't promise anything. What I can promise is you'll receive a report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to know what you're doing at 4 a.m.
Yeah.
That's the report I want to see.
All right, next category, wastewater treatment plant. Again, you'll note there are a couple of items in green, as those are DMAP-related projects that have DMAP-related funding. In addition to that, this is where we start seeing the wastewater treatment plant expansion with $400,000 for design work.
It's only $50.
Councilor Conklin.
Sorry, Kim. Previous slide, the last item. No, sorry, second last item, crosswalk improvement. We have 100,000 budgeted for next year. Could this be kind of discretionary? Like, could we look at maybe increasing that amount so we can get more LED?
So at this point, based on the last presentation staff gave on the transportation master plan, which kind of lumps in both intersections, road improvements, crosswalk, and some traffic calming, what's earmarked in that staff would recommend would be doing a similar crosswalk, mirroring the exact crosswalk we have at the school on York Street, but mirroring on Queen Street. So that would be staff's recommendation for student safety. Then the next highest crossing that I've received complaints on that would be necessary to maintain the level of service along our trail corridor is at the bottom of Silver's Hill. We would have one. So based on our experience with the crosswalk at the school, as well as the one at Desbrizet, it's about $60,000 to do the one at school, and about authority to do with sidewalk improvements or crosswalk improvements at Silver's Hill. That, again, there is benefit of sidewalk improvements when we do these. It's not just putting in signposts and tactile plates. We are doing some improvements of the concrete sidewalk there. So at this point, the bigger of the two projects would be Queen Street. Staff do have to consider drainage issues and other parking issues on Queen Street at the same time.
Okay, thanks. I get a little hung up on like these conferences with the trade show, and you see the booth where they're doing the, they're marketing their crossing signals and everything, and those solar-powered LED sets is $10,000 for the two of them. And I know you said it's more than just sticking the poles in, but having a couple of poles there would be better than nothing, like on a couple of those other streets we have in town.
So, with the installation, of course, there are other jurisdictions that put them on Telspire poles. We put them on actual mounted traffic poles in case they are hit for the safety of them. So the least expensive part of a crosswalk is the RFBs, the flashing beacons, the lights themselves. It's the rest of the work that goes into construction of the sidewalk, the tactile plates, the traffic control that needs to install them, drainage, depending on which one you're doing. So there's a lot at play when we put these crosswalks in certain circumstances, specifically around the school.
Okay. Thank you. Good. Thanks, man.
Back to wastewater treatment plant.
Sorry.
So there is, as noted, $400,000 there to start the design of the expanded wastewater treatment plant, which forms part of the $50.5 million expansion plan, and then a smaller project as well as the DMAF related projects at the plant. The next category is wastewater itself, which is not specifically at the plant, but generally relates to street work as well as pump stations. This one's a two-pager, so wastewater total in that category for 26-27 is $17.4 million. It's made up of quite a few projects, including Dufferin Street, High Street, continued work on Pinecrest subdivision. There are additional projects on Elm and Albert Street, our normal culvert replacement program, the storm sewer separation projects that are part of DMAF, which are various streets in town. We don't have them separated out at this point in time. We just have the total 10.8 over the next 10 years. But for 26-27, there's $295,000 anticipated.
So in terms of that number, that 17 million, I know we talked about capital carry forward, and we've got lots of we never really get to everything we hope to get to. Is that number realistic, or do you feel like we're...
So, like, part of what's happening too, like, I haven't gotten to the next group of them, but Gravity Sewer, Pump Station 6, Pump Station 4, if you were to look at those on a map, they all connect together. So I think the design work for the things that are connected together are being designed together, which has forced those projects all to be in there. I believe is my understanding. So they need to be designed and built together or in sequence, I think, more or less. So they're there because we can't award them unless they are in the capital budget. They may not be started and finished in 26-27, but they need to be in the budget so that when the design's done, we can continue on.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say we are finishing that 17 million in 26-27, but the funding is going to end, and it started in 2022, so we're 3 years in. So we only have 7 years to finish the DMAF project. So you will see that they are hitting the budget fast and furious also.
Yeah. Okay.
just to give, I guess, to add what Kim said, which is correct, the gravity sewer will probably be a project over 2 fiscal years. Pump station six, we would endeavor to get that done in 1 year. There might be a couple months there. Pump station 4 would probably be a 2-year project. And Jubilee, depending on further conversation later on tonight, could also be multiple years as well. But to Kim's point, in order for us to award a contract to a contractor, the town needs the money in the budget to award.
Yeah.
When we do report to the province and the federal government, the funders, we do break them down by year as they want annual cash flow reporting. So we actually report to them, so they're aware that they're multi-year projects as well.
I only ask because, go back to one of your first slides, obviously projected debt ratios. There's a number we're just not going to do. Like I can't speak for council, but I can imagine there is a point in time where the answer is just no. So I don't know. I know we have obligations under DMAF, and we can't just not do work because we have to continue to improve the infrastructure and make sure we're not overflowing into the river and make sure we're able to grow. But when I go to your good news chart, there is a point in time where it is a hard stop. We can't, you'd have a tax rate that makes it so there's no point in doing the work because there's not going to be anyone here. So it's navigating the obligations in green, which, it would be easy for us if all the purple stuff added up to also $17 million, and then council could say, well, for the stuff that's discretionary, we can certainly impact the debt service ratio, but when you look at that number, and you've mentioned this a number of times, if you eliminate most of that, it even doesn't really impact that. It's all the stuff in green that we have to do, but we're going to have to find other sources of revenue from the province and the federal government for a grant program that doesn't allow stacking. So, anyway, a lot of work to do, but that 17 million scares me. So that's why I was asking if it's really next year or if it's over a couple of years. So it is over a couple of years.
It is over a couple of years. And again, I've always said with the debt service ratio, it's always the worst case scenario because I'm assuming we're borrowing in the year following the year it hits here. It's hard to then take all that and modify it and try to project out what it actually will be and when the bad day hits. But if I give you that, you're not under the full understanding of what you've committed to for a debt service ratio. So when you accept these projects, you're accepting that debt to get to that debt service ratio. Maybe not next year, but you are committing to that when you commit to that project.
I appreciate that. And I also appreciate that you don't assume funding sources that are not committed or guaranteed. So, we've been very good at grants. As you can see, of that 17 million, there's 9 sitting there from almost 10 from grants. So that's pretty good, but still. Okay, thank you.
So that's everything for 26, 27. So, not too bad. We're only about 40 minutes in. So generally, the next slides are year by year, just with some highlighted projects and the total of everything, not line by line by line. And primarily, I tried to leave in the purple projects so you could really concentrate on some of the things that were discretionary in those future years. I'm happy to go through them tonight. I'm just going to jump ahead for a second. Our next meeting in January, the 12th, would be my expectation when we would come back to capital budget again. So even though it's getting a little late, I think it's a good idea to go through some of these future years in case you have questions about them, because staff would probably be looking for some direction in January as to what council's thinking as far as moving the draft budget along for capital.
Okay.
Does that make that good?
Yes.
Okay. I just didn't want to keep going if
is
I
everyone,
maxed you out.
you're going through these high levels, so.
Yes.
Yeah. Everyone okay with that?
You've had the presentation, you've had the budget. I assume if you have questions, you'll let us know. All right. So For fiscal 27-28, the total budget is $30.7 million. There are a few things that highlight that, but half of that is the wastewater treatment plant expansion. So essentially, we were budgeting for design work in 26-27, and then the next 3 fiscal years have $15 to $20 million per year to stage that work over that period of time. So you'll see that taking up most of the capital budget for the next few years. In addition to that, there are a number of purple items, which are farmers BMA work, facility condition assessments, which we are continuing to do on an annual basis. The GAP conceptual plan. So while 26-27 has the playground, there are future budgets to continue with that plan. Downtown parking, traffic studies, and so on. You'll also in there is the Aberdeen North at 1.5 million, and there was 1.5 million in the 26-27 budget as well. Any questions on the 27-28?
Councilor Newell.
Just give me a refresher of what the downtown parking implementation plan covers.
That was completed, so I can provide that to yourself so you can have a read.
That'd be excellent, because when was that
I'm just thinking
released to
August,
council
this
initially?
is August 2022.
Yeah.
That we completed that. So the short and long of it, with that, they made the recommendations of both short, medium, and long-term improvements for to improve the parking situation in the downtown. Most of the first few years are with respect to increasing fees by law enforcement, possibly some line cleaning or realignment or relining some parking lots. And then future years, medium and long term, will be actually constructing new parking facilities in the recommended locations. But I can provide that.
That'd be excellent.
Yeah.
I appreciate
So-
that. Thank you.
Fiscal year 28-29 has 25.3 million. Again, there's 15 million there for the wastewater treatment plant expansion. Other projects are continuing with Kinsman Field accessibility, the downtown parking plan, BMA parking lot paving, and so on. Any questions about 28-29?
Councilor Newell.
The condition assessment, it's listed in the, I guess, the optional category, but forgive me, I feel like there's like, is it an insurance reason that we try to get this done, or is it just like to make sure we keep our buildings up to date? Like, what's the reasoning behind that?
So, in my first few years, we would have a fairly significant capital budget, but there'd be individual projects, and some of them being quite substantial. So through council's direction, they requested that facility condition assessment be complete, so that when staff were presenting on improvements of a renovation or whatnot, it was kind of factoring in that the facility assessment. So right now we're doing the town hall with hopes that a series of budget requests will come in from that. The next one will be, I believe, the VMA, then the fire department, etc. So there is a memo that went to council within a list of those facilities that we plan on doing, one per year. So it really comes down to the previous budget request with the concern there was no strategic lens to those improvements, depending on whether we're keeping the facility or if we're expanding it, so things like that. So again, I could probably got that memo somewhere.
If you have it, that'd be certainly interesting. I appreciate it.
Okay.
For fiscal year 29-30, the total budget is 33.7 million, and that's the third year of the wastewater treatment plant expansion construction at $20 million. Additional projects are LaHave Street portion, continued accessibility work at the Kinsman Field, work at the Public Works Garage to expand those facilities, as well as, in a perfect world, the Vino pedestrian bridge to go along with provincial work in that area.
Long before that. I'm just saying it to
We get
manifest
tired
it.
of moving it, so we just moved it out until we have further information.
Yeah.
In theory, we're not paying for it until the work is completed, but yes. Anything for 2930?
Okay.
Fiscal year 3031, a total of $23.7 million in that fiscal year. I don't have all of those listed again, just kind of some of the highlights in particular. The reason I put pavement management on this one and not the other years was just to remind us that pavement management is always discretionary. It's at the discretion of council how much we spend per year. Realistically, I think there's $800,000 in each year, and presumably $800,000 gets you less feet of asphalt annually, so we are not escalating that price in order to keep doing the same amount, presumably. That work is tendered, so I can't guarantee that's the case, but in all likelihood, if we're not increasing it, we may be doing less work, especially once we get, we're looking 6 years out at this point. So just something to keep in mind, that one's always discretionary in individual years, subject to the capacity of staff to get the work done. So I just wanted to make sure we highlighted it in one of the years. Any questions on 3031? All right, fiscal year 31-32. This is where we start seeing a winding down of the capital. So it's $8 million. Some of that is work at High and Dufferin, again, paving, Centennial Trail Bridge. That's in there on an annual basis as well, based on condition assessment. So over the 10-year period, we're anticipating spending $2.9 million. It's just spent on annual work to be done. So that's something to keep in mind, but we're certainly seeing, the slowdown of DMAF projects at that point in time, which is resulting in a much less annual capital budget. For 32-33, $2.9 million capital budget. I assure you, the closer we get to that year, the more likely we are to have added things.
It's nice to see it now, though.
But certainly, the bulk of what you're seeing are annual programs, being condition assessments, pavement management, crosswalk sidewalks, and so on. 33-34, similar explanation, just the annual programs at this point in time, unless something's been specifically identified as a need at that point in time. Fiscal 34-35, $1.6 million. And fiscal year 35-36 at $1.1 million. Again, staff have really focused on accuracy of the early years, and we know that things will come up over time, and these later years we'll have more in them, but it's part of the reason why the debt service ratio kind of has a hump and then slows down, because as that debt's getting paid off, and we're not really needing to borrow a lot for the projects we have knowledge about at this point in time. So,
It's a small amount, it's way out, but what is a pontoon barge? What do we use it for?
I'd have to go back to my notes on that one. I'm drawing a blank right now. I know there's a simple
in
answer, I'll
15
be
years,
honest.
so. 10 years.
We're releasing a 2014 one.
That would be to pull the docks in out of the.
Yeah, we lift the, yeah.
I think I've seen them.
It's not that important, it's 10 years away.
Yeah, that's.
Sure you'll tell us later.
That's 2 councils from now.
Be optimistic.
Yeah, that's a real unit of measurement. That's 2 councils. from now.
Councillor Newell will know what that is by then.
Can we do all future capital budgets in terms of council? It'd be a great new unit of measurement.
We do, we keep a list of future as well, which don't show up here, so sometimes things eventually get put back into the budget when it becomes time, but we do keep a year called future, so we're tracking things that will come up again in the future.
I'm trying to figure out what our 2014 pontoon barge is. Like, yeah.
Maybe it's something the fire department has?
They have a
No,
boat.
because Matt has the notes in here.
Matt would be the only other one with a barge.
Matt's note just says current unit use sparingly should last a long time.
Yeah.
But a long time apparently is 30 years, so it comes back in.
I'm actually drawing a blank, so I will find out right now.
There was one that was docked over at the marina when I was over there, and it was the town's. It was,
Sorry?
there was a pontoon barge that was docked over at the marina at one point years ago.
So what is it? It's just a floating barge?
Yeah,
like on
I think they
pontoons?
use it to help get the docks and,
Okay.
you see go up the river and.
I'm sure it wasn't the Fraser.
Oh, you know what it was?
Let's hope that this doesn't turn out to be important and we can remove from the capital budget. That would be ideal.
And
Yeah,
it's not
that-
even purple.
That
Yeah.
$15,000 item is gonna,
Hey,
We're gonna get up on
every
that.
dollar counts.
it's gonna save us.
I'm counting every nickel.
All right, so just a little bit of information on next step is that, again, we'll be here likely on January 12th with the similar information. We may have a little more information on North Parkade and a couple other things that have come to light recently. So it's going to be critical for council to give staff some direction on that. And in February, we'll come with our list of capital carry forwards, any pre-approvals that might be needed. In addition, I think we'll have a meeting on wastewater and tax rates, so we can get some council direction on that as we move into the operating budget. It also affects what's available for capital as well, but just an overall discussion on those two things to get some direction, as we will have more information on assessed values later this month, so we can have a discussion on what that means for revenue.
Okay. So just a reminder to council, as this is our last meeting, so in our next meeting, January 12th, so if you have any questions on the capital budget or items as you come up and review it and reread it, through the acting CAO, and he will make sure that the questions go to the appropriate member of the senior leadership team. And we get to do this all over again, not all over again.
Not all over again.
Much more detail.
We'll talk about the things that have changed.
Right.
Since the previous version, and then look for some councillor direction, as you've indicated. Going over 30% is not an option, so we need to work on a way to get that under control.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions on this? I appreciate the detail that you and your team provide. It's very, very good, very important. So I know it's painful to look at the numbers because they're high, but I'm telling you right now, there are communities that have their head in the sand and are going to have a reckoning when they realize that they are in the boat that we were in 7, 8, 9 years ago when we had our moment of, oh, we need to do all this. You watch, it's coming. So at least we're open and transparent about it. Councillor Newell.
Earlier, the fire department mentioned that another truck is going to be replaced in the nearest future. I didn't see that in the document. Is that is that because the request hasn't come
I
through
don't
yet?
believe it's in there. I'm not aware of that.
That's what
They
I
are
assumed.
consulted in the creation of the capital budget, so we'll be reaching back out to them.
Yeah, because they're usually pretty. No, but they're usually pretty good. They usually map that out like 10 years in
Yeah,
advance.
as I can see that it was definitely in the April 2020 approved 2021 budget for this truck, so they typically are in there on a timely basis. So.
When it comes to fire department, there is never a surprise with them with fire trucks. We know a decade out when a truck is being replaced, so it should be in there.
Good. So I will assume positive intent. I'm sure something happened. I did have another question, if I may. I noticed on page 30, or I guess maybe it's slide 30 maybe. The equipment for zero-turn mower replacement. It shows up under 3536. But the item is, the description is replace the 2014 zero-turn mower, but it says replace in 26. So is that a typo, or?
If you look, the total budget for that line item is $132,000.
Yep.
So we probably shouldn't be so specific as to name a specific item, as it's more of it gets in the budget several times instead of having like zero-turn mowers in there as 10 different line items.
Mhm.
It's in there once. It just has budget in multiple years as they as those pieces of equipment get replaced. In all likelihood, that detail is in there for the 2026 budget, and it's also carries forward.
There's a number of those in there. I'm trying my best to go through.
Like the same as
Update
paving.
descriptions.
Pavement is one line. We
Yeah.
just have it in each year. If you look at the beginning of the capital budget itself, in the very tiny detailed, like all 10 years in one, you'll see those items that are like have an annual budget because it has an amount in every row. So otherwise the budget would be even longer than it already is. There was a new line for each thing.
Awesome. Thank you.
Like we used to do many, many years ago.
You could just send us all an Excel spreadsheet, honestly.
Then you could, yes.
Yeah.
It is all in Excel, but it's linked to a Microsoft list to make it even more complicated. So.
Any more questions on this? So council has lots of homework over the holidays. So, but we do it every year, so thank you. Thank you to Kim, thank you to Matt, thank you to your senior leadership team for that.
Sorry, just
Yeah.
one more. There's a slightly more updated version for the capital budget. I know maybe it's minute. I know you said that there was a.
There are a few things that were just recently added. One was the roof at the Public Works garage, which I believe is $250,000. There is
Fire truck changes.
Work at a gazebo roof, 15 or 25,000. 25,000. And then the fire truck increase.
Yeah. We'll get an updated.
That's
We'll
what I
get,
was just-
yeah, we'll get the updated version.
Is it possible to get that before the holidays?
Yep.
then? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
that
you'll
was my
get- you'll
question.
s-
Yeah. Is that a big
yeah,
lift?
I can circulate what I have. I believe the director of engineering mentioned something to do with the North Parkade, and that wouldn't be in there because that's a forthcoming report to council that you won't get until January. So we're just trying not to put things in here that haven't been.
No, but
in
it'll be
a
great to
report,
have
so.
whatever, as much data as we have, because we are going to have our holiday homework. We can go through it as detailed as possible.
Sure.
That'd be great. Apparently, there's a lot of secrets happening.
Holiday homework.
All right, everyone's good with that? Or I can ask, if we take a 5-minute break, I'm just looking at Julie, are you able to pause the live stream and just note that we'll take a 5-minute break for people to stretch their legs and, all right. So let's just pause we should have all like frozen where we were, so it looked like it was all seamless. But, all right. So, thanks for just taking a few minutes break. So we jump back into 11.1, Energized Bridgewater options. So I don't know who's.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Are you presenting that?
That break really kind of threw him off.
Yeah, it's just, yeah. So this is a report that's coming back to council. We came to council in May for some direction on Energized Bridgewater. We also had a discussion about some negotiations there earlier in September. So this report is really to get a direction from council to allow us to enter into an agreement with a partner that we found for the Energized Bridgewater navigation services, and Modal has agreed to work with us to come up with a partnership agreement. I suspect it'll be for a couple of years, the initial agreement, but some of that will be based on the funding availability. So what I'm looking for tonight is direction or authorization from council to proceed with that negotiation of that agreement, which will come back to council for approval once we firm up exactly what the costs will be, because we're trying to get a grant right now, but we don't know if we're actually going to be able to get a grant, and if not, that will have to become an operating expense for the town.
Okay, great, thank you. Questions from council? Councilor Caldwell?
So I guess the plan right now is just to work out the details and negotiate. We're not committing to up to 50,000 tonight, or?
No, there's no commitment for the cash tonight. I've talked with the staff from Modal, so we have a general agreement in principle on how we'd like to proceed. But before we actually start going to hard numbers, and we want to find out if we can get some funding before we come back. So council will get the next document will be to formally authorize expenditures. This is just to sort of work out the nuts and bolts of the funding agreement.
And might the agreement include like an agreement based upon population, or?
Yeah, so
we have a
a
lot.
potential outcome could be that we have some sort of baseline funding agreement between us and Modal, maybe a 50-50 split for the first 50%, and then after that, perhaps based on usage. So if, for example, like I anticipate the first year, 18 months, most of the people that will take up this program will probably come from the county.
Probably.
So if, let's say, 80% of the people coming for the program come from the county, then they would get an adjusted fee rate. But we haven't worked out all the details, but that's sort of the idea that we would like to negotiate.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Other questions? Someone prepared to make a motion?
I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater authorize the chief administrative officer to negotiate a formal shared services / cost sharing agreement with the municipality of the District of Lunenburg for the regional continuation of the Energized Bridgewater Home Upgrades, or EBHU program.
Thank you. Seconded by Councilor Caldwell. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried.
Next one?
Yeah, next one is notice of policy, land use bylaw inspections and violations. So again, this is just notice.
That's correct. So it's notice of a policy change, which will come back to council in January. So there's no real information other than what was in the briefing note on this one, other than to sort of outline that we would like to take some more concrete action to reinforce some of the actions that are taken under the land use bylaw, ensuring fair and uniform handling of the infractions and reducing our risk and our exposure to legal and financial challenges, being more accurate on what the consequences and corrective actions are, and making sure we have a good documentation of the process. And I don't know if the Director of Community Development, okay, she's giving me the thumbs up, so those are the key terms of that that'll be coming back in January.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. Any questions on that? Okay, perfect. Someone prepared to make a motion to give notice? Councilor
Yes,
Bashir?
I'll make a motion, Your Worship. I move that town council for the town of Bridgewater give notice pursuant to Section 48 of the Municipal Government Act that at the January 12th, 2026 council meeting, council will consider the land use bylaw inspections and violations policy as outlined in document 25-192.
Thank you. Seconded by Deputy Mayor. Oops, I'm not used to my microphone being on. All those in favor? Those opposed, motion is carried. We already did the pumper truck, so we're down to 11.4, first reading of housekeeping amendments for Chapter 197, the vending bylaw. So I'm going to turn it over to Amanda, who's going to read that for you.
Okay, it's very basic. It's housekeeping amendments to Chapter 197 vending bylaw. The bylaw has gone through several amendments in the past couple of years. All those amendments took place, the numbering and lettering sequence became skewed. So with this amendment, there is no change in the wording or the intent of the bylaw, only the sequence of numbers and letters. So to ensure that the sections and subsections are consistent in their identification for referencing and enforcement purposes, renumbering and relettering of the bylaw is required. So as it is an amendment to a bylaw, first reading is required where notice is given for the approval of the amendments at a future meeting. In this particular case, the next meeting would be January the 12th, 2026.
All right. Any questions on that? Everyone's read the information, understands. Someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Wynot?
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater hereby conduct first reading of bylaw number 235, a bylaw to amend Chapter 197, vending bylaw, as contained in document number 25-194 for housekeeping amendments to amend the numbering and lettering portion of various sections and subsections to add clarity and uniformity to the bylaw pursuant to Section 168 of the Municipal Government Act, and give notice that at the January 12th, 2026 council meeting, Town Council will consider second reading of the same.
Excellent, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Frazier. Further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Oh, as soon as you got up, I was like, oh, let's move this to the last item. No, I'm just kidding. 11.5, engineering services for Jubilee.
Yeah. Good evening, Mayor and Council. With ongoing development in town and through update in our wastewater model, it's clear Jubilee Road wastewater capacity is constrained. That's why Council approved this project in 25-26 budget. And since then, we've been made aware that Modal has a major development planned upstream of Jubilee Road, outside town limits, and they've now committed to cover 50% of the design of this project, up to $100,000, so that we design our future growth, or we take into account our future growths between the town and Modal. This RFP requested two options, one for town only needs, and one for the option that includes both town and Modal. The RFP closed November 20th, and staff scored 3 compliant bids. Design Point Engineering ranked the highest, with a total cost of $173,867.94 net HST. Option 2, the combined option, would need extra contingency allowances because the scope's larger and it would be a further strain on our limited staff resources. Both options keep the town's share under budget, so the options are 1A, award the proceed with the town-only design, 1B, proceed with the town and modal design, 2A, no contingencies if option 1 is preferred, 2B, add the contingency if option 2 is preferred. And with Modal's commitment and the need to plan for regional growth, we recommend awarding the total of $173,867.94 net HST to Design Point Engineering for the design of option 2, which is the combined town and modal design and includes the allowances necessary for the expanded scope.
All right, thank you. Questions for engineering? I'll just say I appreciate the cooperation and partnership with the Municipality District of Lunenburg and their willingness to step up and recognize that we need to work together for future growth. So, what is the will of Council? Deputy Mayor? Yes, please. Thank you.
I would move the Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater award RFP 2025-08 Engineering Services, Jubilee Road Infrastructure Upgrade to Design Point Engineering and Surveying Limited for the Jubilee Road Infrastructure Upgrade Project for the sum of $173,867.94 net HST and $190,848.43 full HST.
Right, thank you. Seconded by Councillor Conklin. Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Aren't you glad you waited all the way to the end of the meeting? 11.6 is Lunenburg County Senior Safety Program November monthly report. So all that information is in there for council. Of course, very busy. Very busy crew. We saw them today as we made some rounds.
Yep.
To all the staff. The acting CAO and I delivered Christmas cards and donuts to all the outbuildings and staff in Town Hall. 11.7 is the Regional Growth Management Committee, Exit 12A, and Transit Expansion.
So this was two pieces of work that came to council for discussion, and includes the development of 12A, where Modal has expressed an interest in collaborating with the town of Bridgewater to pay for some of the expenses and maybe share in some of the revenue. And the other one is the expansion of the regional, or of the Bridgewater Transit Service, to cover some of the Modal area. And both of these items have been requested by Modal. So the recommendation is that we take this to the Regional Growth Management Committee, which happens tomorrow, for discussion before it comes back to council for a decision.
Great. Any questions from members of council? We're all about the partnership now. It's great. It's awesome. Is someone prepared to make that motion? Councilor Newell, thank you.
I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater refer discussion for future collaboration on development at Exit 12A and expansion of transit coverage to the Regional Growth Management Committee.
Thank you. Seconded by
The
most other people. Deputy Mayor McDonald.
So I want to see only one.
Yeah, problem. No, just kidding. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. Yeah, you can tell it's getting late. Yep. 11.8. My eyes are so tired. I'm like, is that where we're at? Town sponsor of transit fees for December 27th to 31st.
So thank you. So
I thought Julie was going to come down. And
Julie, would you like to come down and present this? No? Okay. All right. So typically we get two sponsors for Christmas time to offset the expenses for the public transit use for the period up to Christmas and also for the New Year's period. We were only successful in finding one sponsor this year, so we've got a sponsor for the pre-Christmas one, but we don't have a sponsor covering the transit costs for the New Year's period. So the request tonight is for council to cover the $450 to pay for that New Year period of transit coverage.
Any questions on that, Councillor Caldwell?
What is the engagement account
The engagement account.
that the money is coming from?
So that would be like our, like Talk Bridgewater and events like that where we...
Just money for hosting events
Yep.
type thing?
Yep, but for council.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question, though. Would you like to make a motion?
Sure. I move that Town Council for the Town of Bridgewater sponsor Bridgewater Transit fares in the amount of $450 for the period of December 27, 2025 to December 31st, 2025, with the funds allocated from the TOB engagement account.
Thank you. Seconded by the entirety of the side. Councilor Newell. All those in favor? Those opposed? Motion is carried. Thank you. We are at the end of our agenda. Big thanks to staff. That was a long night, a lot of work, and as the acting CAO said, a lot of effort went into that. So I appreciate all of what you do, and this is our last council meeting of 2025. So on behalf of council, thank you to staff, your staff team, for the work you do, and thank you to council for another busy but great year. This is like the end of your first full year of council, to our two new folks. So thank you, and Merry Christmas to everyone. And can I have a motion to adjourn, please? Councilor Newell, seconded by Councilor Frazier. 2, 3, we are adjourned. Thank you.